And okay, we are recording according to what I can see, and we're gonna have somebody edit this, right? So if it gets a little out of control, if something said that
No, I wouldn't even edit it, man. I think that is a beautiful thing for people to communicate. I wouldn't even. I think it takes away from it. It's like if somebody came and edited Nas's song Ether, it wouldn't have had the same impact because you want like what happened there.
I'm with you. I mean, sometimes
I agree.
I agree. Sometimes people don't say things that they wish they hadn't said in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, I honestly, I wouldn't want to edit it. Like if I go on YouTube and I pull up the 50 Cent versus Cameron argument, that famous one that happened, if there was a segment missing, it takes away from it. Like I need to hear what 50 said. I need to hear what Cameron said. That's what made it beautiful, So now I wouldn't edit nothing.
I know about Tom Brenneman. He wants that back.
He wish he could edit that. I bet.
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right. Well, again, I guess I'll start it off. Right. Everybody knows me, right?
Yes, sir. Captain Bush.
LaShawn Bush out of the Bronx, New York. And Mark, we served together. 136 Infantry. Same for me and you, Francisco Mendez. Billy, we worked together in ministry, right?
Yes, sir. Give your witness.
Katya, you've been married to me going on 21 years, right?
She's not here for some reason.
She's not? Okay, did she drop? Okay, she did.
Yeah, she sent a text saying that she'll be back in.
Okay, got it. Anyway, but so that's how I know each of you gentlemen. I highly respect you all, and we're going to just talk about politics, religion, things of social concern, and we're going to do that to the glory of God, right? From
Amen.
a Christian viewpoint, a vantage point. Some of us wear that faith on our sleeve a little more than others. That's okay. Some of us, choose to display that faith in the manner in which we choose to display it, but that's okay, right? At this point, right, I'm gonna go ahead and pass we'll go clockwise. Mendez.
Dígamelo. Well, my name's Francisco Mendez. I'm up here in the Chicago area. Me and Mark and Sean, we served together back in Germany. Just a couple of years ago, back in 2099, just a couple of decades ago, literally.
Got history, man.
And it feels it was like yesterday that we were just up in Kosovo. Here comes doing his Beretta Blues. I mean, that's my anthem right there. That's
oh man.
Yeah, but other than that,
we gotta speak bars or something.
Other than that, mostly, like Bush said, I'm always up for debates. I like talking. I like learning on it. A lot of people think just because not always a one-sided thing. So I like understanding people's point of view on it, and I always respect that from them. And always, when they ask me, I definitely give them my point of view also. Doesn't mean that either party is wrong. It's just different path of life that people have taken, and they have made certain decisions certain ways. And sometimes we see how people sometimes bubble themselves in certain things, and I like to bring them opportunities or tools for them to be able to see above that bubble that they're in right now. Kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Mark, about the people where you're at, the environment, the type of attendance you look at. They have that specific bubbles. They don't like talking about credit score, stuff like that, because for that's not of interest. So stuff like that is great to learn on it and be able to. I'm looking forward for this new venture. We're going to be all going together and growing from it and seeing where does it go. And my goal is to get this on Amazon Prime. I'm Amazon Prime content producer, so we're going to get this thing set up. We're going to start making a series within Amazon.
You gotta slap the video right up tonight, man. Put it on Facebook, man. Get it up there.
Yeah.
Let's go, Mark.
Do it. Let's go.
Yeah, is it Bill's turn? I think it's Bill's turn.
Well, I'm sorry. As far as I'm with you, let's go. But yeah, we're going clockwise. Right.
All right.
Whose turn is it, Mark?
It's your turn, Bill.
Oh, my turn. Okay. Hey, and first of
I'm
all,
sorry, Francisco, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to go.
Okay.
I mean, I live in Chicago, and that's it. I'm here for you. Let's make it happen.
all right. Well, I'm Tennessee, the deep South. Hey, and first of all, thank you guys for having me. Thank you for your service, all three of you.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
right here in Clarksville, Tennessee, home of the 101st Airborne Division, Screaming Eagles.
Cool.
And I actually
101.
enlisted. What's that?
I said 101.
Yes,
Screaming
sir.
Eagles.
Yes, sir. I actually tried to enlist, but the recruiting officer here in Franklin, Tennessee said I was wasting my time because of some medical issues. But, you know, guys still found a way to see that this happens. And, hey, Mendez, did you shave?
You understand? I like your attention to detail. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I just, I thought so. I thought you looked a little different. Hey, go Cubs, by the way. But now I'm honored to be here with you guys. And let's make this happen. Let's have fun with this. No PC zone. Me and Sean talked about this earlier. No PC zone.
That's right.
And hey, thank you guys, and God bless you. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. As Bush and Mendez said, we served together. We got decades in. We was first boots on the ground in Kosovo with the smoke and the rubble. So you know, we've been in position that a lot of men haven't been in, and it created a camaraderie. We've seen literally the highest points and the lowest points, and it feels like yesterday that I was literally in the barracks, and you know, Mendez was coming through smoking them soldiers, and you know, Bush was at the other end down there, and it was getting crazy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing more guys, and also nice to meet Bill. You know, and yeah, man, we're gonna chop it up. I'm originally from Harlem, New York, and then I went into the military, and you know, and then I got out, and I'm kind of in central Pennsylvania now, Altoona, aka Little Chicago, you know, without the guns, you know, and I deal in real estate, and I try to inspire people, you know, through my Facebook, through my journey. First and foremost, what really got me into it was just keeping myself involved, because the stuff that I deal with, I honestly feel like other landlords don't deal with it outside of this area. And honestly, my health was taking a toll. I was taking a lot of things personally, and you know, so it's really a rough thing. And you guys get to hear a little bit of that, you know, through some of the discussion, because honestly, you know, some of the policies in America actually create the situation that I'm dealing with. It's real rough out here for entrepreneurs. This business is closing down all over the place, and there's a lot of real estate that's being sold, you know, right now because of the fact of the policies that's in place, and people are afraid and they're trying to cash in while they can cash in. So nice to meet all you guys, you know.
Same here. I'm blessed.
Mark,
Honored.
thank you for that introduction, brother. It's a pleasure to have you here. As you can see, gentlemen, we have an individual who just joined. He needs no introduction, but we'll introduce him anyway, right? DeLeon Harris, 3rd Platoon LT. What is going on, sir?
Man, you going back a long time. Y'all heard me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Man, I'm not up on all this technology stuff. Like an old man.
Man, I was doing that. I was literally working and tweaking it, you know, like minutes before.
Yeah, I have no idea. Matter of fact, I just bought this video camera yesterday for my kids because I'm homeschooling them, or
Perfect timing.
as best as
Yeah,
I can
perfect
anyway.
timing.
So,
Perfect timing.
I guess
Tell us a little
we'll
bit
have a
about
conversation
yourself,
about
Mr. Harris. History and, you know.
let me think. I guess going back to the military, well, graduated from North Georgia University. It's a senior military college in Dahlonega. I was enlisted for a time, total time in the military about 10 years. Best time of my life was being infantry platoon leader in 3rd Platoon Bravo Company, serving with you guys. Of course, when I got out, I actually did another 5 years as a pharmaceutical rep. Now I'm an engineer for Ameren Energy Center. So it's a coal-fired plant in Missouri that just makes power, just to be short. Got 6 kids, a wife, 3 are in college. 1 is actually in the military right now. He's still at AIT in Florida. He went military intelligence. And then I got 2 more still in high school, a senior and a sophomore. So we stay busy.
All right.
What years was you in Bravo Company, LT?
I guess it would have been 2002 to 2004, maybe.
Yeah. You remember me then?
Yeah, I do. The face is definitely familiar.
It was only a few of us, so we don't never forget each other.
No, it's some people that really stood out to me.
Well, I was the tallest guy.
I remember my first day. I think one of the NCOs challenged me to a fight.
Wait, say that again?
I remember one of my first days at the, I wasn't even a platoon leader. I was just shadowing the platoon leader, and one of the NCOs challenged me to a fight in the woods.
It wasn't me.
No,
I got in a lot of fights.
Break the LT in, right?
Yeah, and being from East St. Louis, I was all about it.
All right. Did you hit the wood line, LT?
He changed his mind.
Okay.
Sergeant Jackson talked
Just want to see where your heart was.
Was it Sergeant Jackson? Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. Sergeant Jackson, he got it in.
And we invited Jackson Pierre to the festivities tonight, so maybe he'll join, maybe he won't. But gentlemen, let's go ahead and LT, thanks for that introduction. We're gonna go ahead and start the discussion without any further delay. We can talk about any number of topics. What do we want to talk about? Everybody's favorite topic right now. I know we had the Democratic National Convention last night. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Good for the country, bad for the country. Mendez.
Dímelo. Trump, Latinos for Trumps over here.
Amen to that.
No, just on our side of the house is like, it goes, I was never into politics until we were in Baghdad. Once that we were in Baghdad, reason I'm saying this just so I understand my point of view of certain things is, I was one of those guys that got stop loss, stop movement. So my ATS day passed by and I was still in combat. I was like, I wasn't gonna get out. I was gonna get out.
What year was this?
Huh?
What year?
That was the 2004, 2005 deployment. So I had to be in 2004. Now it was election, and I remember they were going through the whole issue with the presidency. And I remember Bush said one thing: "You guys are not leaving to 2025." Got it, understood. And the other guy, Kerry, was saying, "I don't know what we're gonna do. I want to try to get you equipment." I did not feel you. You know what I mean? So in other words, going with that is, out of all the interactions that I had within my military career, I was in Colombia representing the United States military by myself out there for 2 years with the Colombian military. So being the interaction that's all within the politics itself, I did certain things at a higher level underneath the rough stuff I didn't like with certain parties. So when it came up to me, I'm the type of guy, tell me the truth and I'm okay. Even if it is bad, just tell me the truth. If I'm gonna get jacked up, let me know. At least give me a fair warning. That was my point of view on the whole aspect. That's why my way was on the Republican type of side. Going with that, said also, going last election, I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm just saying what you bringing to the table for me and what is beneficial for my family. What points are you bringing? I first start home. When you get in the aircraft, what it tell you? When the air mask comes out, put it on yourself first and help the one next to you, right? So I got to take care of my home front. What are you bringing for my home front that's going to benefit me personally, my business, and my family, future? And last election, I went Democrat. I voted for Obama because I was looking at, I did believe that what we had going, that was the right candidate for it. And now that we're going into this election, really, we can say both things. We might have not good candidates on both sides of the house, but what we have right now on the table, you know what I mean? I'm leaning more on the red side because I already know what's coming for the next 4 years. You know what I'm trying to say? I know what's my next target man is going to be for the next 4 years, how they might look like. On the opposite side, you know, I don't really see a truthfulness when it comes to what's coming out yet. And like I said, as of me right now, that's what I'm seeing. On it is 3 months still ahead. A lot of things can happen. And even within ourselves, me as a Puerto Rican, we're looking at statehood. You know, who's going to bring statehood for Puerto Rico? You know what I mean? Got Trump the other day just say he want to sell Puerto Rico. That's just words. At the end of the day, the president's just it's just the face of politics of the country. My point of view is who's going to be in Congress, who's going to be out there leading, who's going to be the people presenting and actually be doing the most instead of the talking. My point of view is like, what's my interest? Originally, statehood. We're looking for that statehood for years. You know, we're going to have our election November 3rd right now in Puerto Rico for yes or no, what's going to happen. And from there, we're going to come over here and present it back to Congress, see what's going to happen with it. That's my point of view right now on it. I don't know how you guys go with that whole part.
I can tell you without a doubt it won't pass a Republican House. And it's all about money, and it's all about taxes, and it's all about these greedy hedge fund managers that want Puerto Rico to pay their fair share. And I don't think that's right. And I didn't want to cut in. So
no, do your thing. That's what we're here for. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut in, but words do matter. I've always thought words matter. Mm-hmm. And the president's words definitely matter. So when you make comments, whether they're true or false, and some of the stuff I really don't believe, I do my own research. I want to hear it for myself. But if somebody makes a comment or spreads a rumor about you making comments about Puerto Rico like that, I think you should come out and you should address that matter. And given the fact that he didn't address it, I'm confident in saying he probably did say it. Because
I'm confident he probably did say it too. Believe me, yeah, I guarantee you, because when I was in the convention center for Hurricane Maria down there. I just retired and I was with FEMA, and we were part of the initial push for Hurricane Irma and Maria. And I'll tell you that. And I was there when Ron Paul told the governor of Puerto Rico, let's incorporate Puerto Rico right now. You know, let's incorporate Puerto Rico is your initial step to becoming a statehood. And the governor, what he says, no, right? Because that governor, we even protested in the street. He even came up. He's a Democratic guy. You know, that's the bad thing. Yeah, the bad thing about Puerto Rico. I remember this guy. Yeah, about the Puerto Rico political parties, they're divided because one party, you got Democrats and Republicans in one party. You know what I mean? And that was the issue we're having.
We're right back, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. We're having that issue right now when it comes to whoever's on the governor right now. She's a Republican, but she got beat with the same party by a Democrat. But we support that Democrat person who's going into the governorcy because he's going into statehood. And like you were saying, yeah, and I do believe that he probably meant it. But one thing is menting, one thing is doing it. And we in Puerto Rico, we've been used to being told everything. I mean, we've been so whatever, you know, we're good with that part. At the end of the day, our focus, our target is statehoodship. And that's what we're looking at the end point for us in our
I agree.
House.
I agree. And again, I didn't say it, but, you know, and I truly do believe this, as I've seen it from both sides. For a long time, been an officer, I voted Republican. And I realized once I got out why I voted Republicans, because we're in this bubble and we're told to believe this. And for example, I know for a fact, if we had a Republican senator come in to visit the base, we rolled out the red carpet for this guy. If it was a Democrat, for some reason, he fell short on the pecking order. It wasn't that big of a deal. And, you know, we were fed this belief that Republicans love the military, they take care of the military, they always fund the military. But when I was platoon leader, I don't know if you guys know this or not, 40 soldiers in a platoon, I was given 39 pieces of body armor. The richest country in the world couldn't give us enough body armor for every man and woman on the front line. And one of the things that helped change my way of thinking was when I finally got back and I started researching some of the bills that were put forth in Congress, and I saw that it was the Republicans that voted down the bill to give the military extra funding for body armor. And, you know, that's near and dear to my heart. When I'm given, I got 40 soldiers and you give me 39 pieces of body armor, and you tell me decide who lives and dies and who gets that body armor and who doesn't.
Very chilling revelation, because when I was in Iraq, we actually didn't have up armored Hummers till after we got in for some time, and it was kind of weird, right? Because we had the 203 long barrels, and we were supposed to be clearing rooms with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the Air Force, who was on base, that wasn't going out the wire, that had the small barrel M4s with all of the gadgets and gear on it. And we were like wondering, like, how, like, that's weird. We're out the wire, and we actually are using this retro stuff, and we're the infantry guys. We're the ones that's supposed to be kicking in the door. So that's some telling information right there. We actually was patrolling a city, a small town outside of Al-Assad Air Base. It was a miniature Baghdadi. And we had the soft top Hummer, and the guy's just standing on the back of the vehicle, completely exposed, no turret, you know, and we're patrolling this city, you know. And I mean, that was back in, you know, the early 05, you know, 06, so it was still fresh and things. I guess didn't catch up at that time, but maybe that's what it was. But it was unbelievable, the equipment that we were handed to do the mission. You know, so that's some interesting information right there.
Another example was, because I didn't mention it, but I also worked at the VA. I did a contract work. I left a job where I made 6 figures to go work for the VA, making $40,000 a year, because I wanted to serve again. And that was under Obama. And I got to see how you were treated from being active duty to how you were treated as a veteran. And again, if you're willing to send us to combat, I think you should be willing to take care of us when we come back. And for a fact, I know that and again, I don't like to overgeneralize and put everybody in one group, but it was the Republican House. And if you go back and look in history, how many bills have been voted down that would have benefited veterans? And Obama did. And so the group that they actually hired on, we came on as part of this big Obama push to revitalize the economy. And so a lot of the guys that were hired were actually veterans. And these veterans came and took a pay cut and would work overtime for free just to clear the backlog of files that the VA had. And it was just amazing for me to see who got these government contracts, how much money the government paid for these VA hospitals or contracts that they awarded for them to do the physicals when the VA was overcrowded, to see how much money was going, but then to see how many times the bills that would give veterans more money got voted down. And on top of that, I also saw firsthand how the Republican Party wanted to privatize the VA. And not to make the VA better, but to make a profit. And that's what it was all about. And it's always been not about making it better. It's about making money for their rich friends. And I'll give you another example. So I can't remember his name, but you know, so let's say the VA has a backlog of physicals. They can't get all the physicals done, so they contract out. There was only one company that had sole contracts for do the VA physicals, and they charged 3 times more than the government did. And the person that had that contract, the CEO, was the former secretary of the VA, a Republican. And he didn't do anything to make it better. It was all about making money. And it's not to disparage the Republican Party, but you can see the difference if you look up the bills that will benefit veterans and benefit soldiers, who voted those bills down. And I would say 8 times out of 10, it was the Republican Party. And again, you know, they had the Tea Party coming in and they were trying to be, the taxed enough party. But at the same time.
Daily in for a second, if I may.
Go ahead.
So I don't think we need to ask the question, what party you are in support of.
Yeah, but I voted for Republican all the way up to the part where Obama ran. And I actually wasn't going to vote for Obama. I was going to vote for McCain because he's a veteran. So I stood with him. I stood with Obama. I mean, I stood with McCain all the way up until the point where he picked Sarah Palin. And again, that was a play to get the female vote. And that was an obvious play. But when I saw she was wholly unqualified, I said, no, I can't do that. And plus, at the same time, I saw that my kids who were like in middle school were excited about the fact that they had a black guy running. And not just any black guy, a credible black guy who was intelligent and could win and had the experience in the background. And then I ran into some friends through my wife because she had friends that graduated law school from Harvard, and they knew the Obamas personally. And they had nothing but good things to say about him. And so I didn't agree with all the policies, but I agreed with the character of the man. And after the way I left the military, because it was a lot of people that I respected, but when the rubber met the road, they didn't stand up for the soldiers. They wanted to throw the soldiers under the bus to the point where you wanted to send a soldier to jail. And I had to go in front of the battalion commander and the company commander, and I told them to their face, if this soldier goes to jail for one day, we're all going to jail, because I know what happened, and he didn't break the rules. We broke the rules. We failed this guy. And so for me, it's about the character of the man. It ain't always about the policies. It's about the character of the man and where he stands. And I like somebody that's going to be firm and has and again, going back to a lot of things you talk about, as a good, godly person. But the character of the man is more important to me than anything, because I got to trust you. And if I don't trust you, if you flip-flop, if you lie, I can't trust you. I can't trust you when you tell me to go take that hill. Because again, I don't know whether you're doing this for money, if you're doing this for prestige. I just don't trust you. And I don't trust you to put the lives of my men either. But yeah, and again, I've always voted for Republican until Obama. And then when I got out of the military, I saw how the Republican Party treated veterans. And I didn't like it at all. And you can go back to the 9/11 bill. I mean, you had Republicans actually vote against giving 9/11. Hey, back. Yeah, I'll take the trash out this week.
Well, it's interesting, Dalen. It's interesting that you have the perspective that you have. I'll say this: I almost have an opposite perspective. Growing up in the military, whenever we needed resources, 9 out of 10 times there was a Republican president in office. You notice when Obama won office, was elected, the military was downsizing at that point.
But we always do that.
The time that I served and you
did it too.
With it, those funds were readily available. We're talking about what's referred to as global war on terrorism funds, right? That means the bank was wide open and we could get whatever we needed. But early on, it seemed like the distribution of those funds wasn't happening as efficiently as it needed to, because there were a lot of outfits that were in need, right? I can remember our Kosovo deployment. We had up-armored Humvees. We needed those up-armored Humvees in Iraq.
Oh, yeah, we were more prep in Kosovo than we did in back then.
Oh, man. Iraq was a nightmare. There's so many terrible things that I could talk about, but also to elaborate on what LT was saying, and again, this is because I'm looking at out here, I see grown people that get dental, is covered, is taken care of, but to my knowledge, and maybe somebody can correct me, but I know that any dental work that I was getting in the military, I can no longer get that, even though I still get medical, and I've been out of the military, but it's because, quote unquote, I guess I'm not a certain category, like I wasn't wounded, so they only offer to guys that were in combat and they reached that certain category, you only get the medical portion. So you have veterans that are committing suicide and that their teeth are rotting out of their faces, because they weren't wounded in combat, they didn't take a round to the chest or something like that, which would boost them or put them in a certain category where they are allowed the full package, which is the actual dental. But yet you have people that are collecting welfare checks that are collecting SSI, which is federal welfare, and you hear about them going to the dentist, and these are grown men, 40 years old, and they're getting their teeth taken care of. But a veteran like myself or some of the working class people that I know, they don't have any access. So I know I actually had an employee that was actually, he always had bread in his mouth, and I was wondering why he had bread in his mouth, and but he said basically because he didn't have any type of health care, so in order, the tooth was rotted and he couldn't get it out, he didn't have enough money to pay for it outright. But then you have somebody that actually opted in the system that had the federal welfare package, and they're allowed to go to dental and they're getting their teeth taken care of, and so it's a little bit funky, some of the stuff that I'm saying.
Let's tie this in, Mark. Let's battle focus this. Is Trump for veterans? From your perspective?
I think that by default he has to be, because that, you know, I think that when I look at politics, you know, it's just like chess. You know, whatever side of the board you on, it's kind of, now I'll say this with Trump, different than any other Republican, is Trump. He came in, he was the Eminem of the politic game. He came in, he said whatever he wanted to say, and I did like that about him. I actually can't stand the establishment on both sides. So that was one of the things that I thought was appealing. I thought that we had to shake up the spectrum here, because this is all you're going to see. I used to listen to talk radio. I don't listen to it anymore. I liked when, what was it, Alan Combs. I liked listening to him, and then I liked listening to Mike Savage. You know, so I like to listen to both. I like to listen to real guys. Mike Savage is the real deal. Rush Limbaugh is a pawn. Hannity is one of those guys that he's just, you know, he's pretty. I don't listen to that, you know. But Combs was the real deal, you know. And then he passed away, and I kind of lost interest because there was nobody that could replace that view on that side. But as far as Trump is for the military, he has to be. There's no Republican that can be against the military. So that's just.
Wait a minute now, because Mr. Harris, you just said that from your experience and your perspective, and everybody has one, that's not what you were seeing, at least pertaining to the veterans. Am I correct in that?
I don't know what it's like now underneath Trump. I knew when he was coming in, you had a lot of veterans that worked for the VA, or a lot of doctors that didn't want to work for him. Because again, they graduated from liberal schools, and I don't like bullies, first of all. But I'll tell you this: is there anybody on here under when Obama was in office that filed a claim for, let's say, PTSD?
I retired in 2017.
I'll tell you this. I'll say that, you know, this will tie that in. See, this is what happens. Trump is just a figurehead. He's a puppet, just like the other side has a puppet. But the thing is this: once those bills get on the table, then they start the sharking back and forth, and you know. So by the time it gets to the lowest level, it's kind of like gossip. You know, if I tell you one thing when it's just me and you on the camera, and then one other person comes in. By the time 20 people hear the message that you originated, it is totally different. So,
Mark, let me caveat. I was talking to one of the ministers of the ministry, your witness, and she expressed the same thing. The sister's name is Halo Harris. By the time we go to cast our vote, right, she was explaining that she hasn't voted in a while, because there's always something attached to a policy or something that comes along with it that you are not necessarily.
What they call it, the pork something, pork bills, or you know, stuff added into bills to get it to pass, where everybody gets.
Get what you call it. What do you call that when they attach something to?
Yeah, it's pork something.
Pork. There you go. Right. Something. But that's a good point. I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, Mark. Go ahead, please.
No. See, what happens is I feel like by the time, you know, we the people see it, and a lot of us never read these bills anyway. We just see the outcome of it. But the thing is that both sides literally have picked apart what they wanted, and so sometimes it gives the appearance even that a side is doing something when they wasn't. You know, stuff was just left in because they had no choice, because something greater on their agenda needed to be taken. You know what I'm saying? They have to bargain with things. So, you know, it's like the Bloods and the Crips, you know, and then there's Chicago and the GDs and the BDs, and they're trying to fight for blocks. And then they have a peace treaty. And then so what happens is, you know, we say, okay, we're not going to shoot anybody in this block here, but if you don't want us to shoot them over here, then that block over here, you know, and then so by the time the final, the guys are shaking hands and everybody's saying it's peace, you know, that's so generic, because the reality is so many different things happen. It may give the perception that these guys over here actually care, and you know, but it's really not. Or you see what I'm saying? So the way I look at it is, as far as Trump is concerned, he's a Republican. There's certain things that you're gonna have to vote to actually be that. And then there's Democrat. There's certain things you're gonna have to vote to be that. So that the military is always gonna, right out the door, that's the Republican thing. You know, they want their funding, and they want the big guns, and you know, obviously the Democrats, they want to downsize and they want to put more money to the people. So that's the way I look at it. Trump, there's certain things he's smart enough as a businessman not to mess with, and the military is one thing he's not going to mess with.
Well, I say with the VA. So under Obama, he streamlined the process where, like, say, if you filed for PTSD, you didn't. It was a time when you had to have you had to tell when and where, what time you experienced an event that caused you PTSD before you get those benefits. Under Obama, it was just the fact if you had a DD-214 and it said you served in Iraq and you had a CIB, a contract infantry badge, automatic guarantee you got it. And so I saw that more money was going to the VA, and the VA, the Secretary of the VA under Obama initially was General Shinseki, and he was a qualified, honorable person that knew the job and knew how to manage, because the VA is one of the largest departments of the government. I think the largest, second only to the military. So General Shinseki knew how to manage and lead that department. When you take a person that's your personal doctor at the hospital and try to put them over the VA, I think that's an insult to veterans. That guy is not qualified to lead the VA. And then when that guy didn't pass approval, he just took the guy that was second in charge and made him the VA. He didn't give it a lot of thought. He didn't do a lot of research. He didn't do a lot of background. He said, well, we got somebody that is there. We'll just put him in charge. And to me, you're doing veterans a disservice when you do that. Now, he did do some good things. I like the fact that he's holding some VA employees accountable, where if they're not getting the job done, they're getting them out. But at the same time, I can see that both ways. You know, if you got a bad leader or a bad manager, of course you're going to do a bad job. If you don't have any goals and objectives, you're going to do a bad job. And plus, these are not only VA workers, they're also in a union. And I respect the help. I respect unions. And so I just think if you want to take care of veterans, take care of veterans. Don't just give us lip service. And at the same time, you can't disrespect another veteran like Senator McCain and then tell me you appreciate veterans, you know, and not fully understand what a person like Senator McCain is. He wasn't a war hero because he got captured. To me, he was a war hero because he had the opportunity to go back home. And he said, I'm not going back home until all my soldiers are released. To me, that's what made that man a war hero. And given the fact that he actually served, you should not disparage a veteran like that. A man who served.
I like McCain. I liked him a lot. He was a good dude.
One thing real quick though, and I think this is going to go push the whole conversation back in perspective and where we're going to be going is understanding the persons of each political party. One thing is understanding the party itself. And number three is as we talk about, just the same example you just did right now, LT is like, how do we got told this, well, I got told this a lot coming up in the military. You might not have to respect me, but respect the rank. Mm-hmm. The whole person, because most of the times that person in charge, believe me, both sides of the house, I do not agree on certain things, even personally from them. But I'm like, okay, what are you bringing to the table? You know, that's what I want to know. What are you going to bring to the table on it? For me, this is just me, and I'm going to open it back up to you guys. On the blue side, it's going way too. I'm a left-handed, but God damn, that thing's going way to the left. You know what I'm trying to say? That's my big worry right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? My military, most of my, I want to say about 8 to 10 years of my military, I was a School of the America instructor, Wednesday. I spent a lot of times in Latin America.
Hey, Mendez, real quick, what's the informal name of the School of the Americas? Do you know it offhand?
No, I consider the former Western Hemisphere Security.
LT, you got it?
Okay, because we're being
reported.
Western Hemisphere Security Corporation is a great institution which we install human rights within the hemisphere.
That was a very professional explanation of what
I wouldn't know.
Right, LT. Do you know? Go ahead, man.
The name has changed, I believe. It's the new name, School of Americas.
There's a new School of America, the informal name.
No, it used to be School of America. Now it's WINSEC.
It's a derogatory name.
Oh, School of Unions.
Oh, Okay, so
What's the dormitory
I'm
name?
glad you said it, Mendez.
A school of Julio.
I'm glad you said it, sir.
What is it called?
We ain't heard Bill yet. I want to hear what Bill got to say.
Yeah,
Bill,
we saving Bill for last, right? Of course. But before we get to Bill, real quick story. I'm in Officer Candidate School, right? My roommate is a Spanish guy, great guy, right? The commandant's coming through, right? My roommate used to work for the School of Americas. Mendez, you might know him. I forget his name right now, but good guy. And I knew that he worked for the School of the Americas. The commandant is in our room inspecting us, right? This is right before graduation. He comes to me, he says, tell me something about your roommate. Where did he used to work? I said, School of the Julios, Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major was Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't appreciate that too much. Let's just say that, you know. So, but we overcame that. I commissioned and did great things, right? Right. Bill, please give us your perspective on President Trump, sir, and whether or not he's good for America, good for veterans, good for soldiers.
He's answered prayer, I'll be honest with you. And there's a lot of reasons for that. If you want to talk about as far as the military goes, you go back to the 60s and seeing morale go down. You know, people were spitting on our veterans when they come back home. So that's nothing new there. Politicians have been the problem for a long time. I liked what Mendez said. He's not a Republican or a Democrat. I've only voted Republican. And since Trump's been elected, we've learned a lot about Bush, McCain, Romney, Obama, all these guys. Mark's right, they're just figureheads, except Trump. Trump's not he's not one of the good old boys. If might I steal a line there? He's not a good old boy. That these politicians, if you've seen them, the establishment comes out against Trump. They hate Trump to the core. Obama, Bush, Clinton, usually past presidents leave these things alone. You know, Bush did that with Obama. He didn't get involved. Obama, though, he's undermined Trump every step of the way. Him and Kerry are with Iran. Talking about character, Obama's got a real serious character issue. Both him and Michelle do. There's a lot of speculation about their law license. Did they surrender it or not? There's a lot of speculation there. If they surrendered it voluntarily. Obama there at the Rose Garden after the Benghazi attack there, saying it was a video that portrayed the Prophet Muhammad. And we know now that they were in talks for months about this attack. It was a planned attack. It wasn't just something that come together out of nowhere. So when talking about when someone lies to you, Obama lied to the nation as a way, because remember, this was right before the 2012 election, and he had a lie to say, hey, look, I've got this under control. And he lied to the nation, and we know that now. He's still undermining the presidency. He's undermining Trump. He's in Iran. Kerry's in Iran. Talking about Kerry, and Trump's not one of the good old boys, and that's why all these politicians hate him. When you're seeing Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton and, both Bushes before Herbert Walker Bush died, and when you're seeing the establishment class come out against one man who's not one of them, you know you've got something good right there. And I've been called a conspiracy theorist because I look at things not on a partisan line. But I mean, all these things have been proven, and they're not conspiracies. They're actually hardline evidence for that, for all of it.
I will see your.
Anybody object?
Well, I'll caveat. Again, I'm a Trump guy. I'm also a guy that wears his religious belief pretty openly. And one of the biggest.
Well, no. As far as politicians go, my faith dictates how I vote. So I could never vote for the other side because everything they're for. at 2016 and 2020, they voted down "In God We Trust" or "In God," in the pledge.
We were talking about that earlier. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a godless party, I don't see how any Christian man or woman could vote for that godless party. The God, you were talking about, Mark was talking about litmus tests. Republicans have to be for the military. Well, Democrats now have to be for abortion. I can never vote for a candidate, regardless of their party, who is for abortion. And one of my favorite politicians or political figures of all time is Alan Keyes. Mendez may know him because he's out of Chicago, Illinois. Alan Keyes, he's a black conservative, black Republican, and he said that the first question he asked a candidate who asked for his vote, where do you stand on abortion? And that's me. If you want my vote, if you're pro-abortion, I don't care what party you are, cannot vote for you. Because
that's admirable.
Right.
I respect that. I would say this about that abortion thing. I think it's a false choice, if you ask me personally, because I'm a Democrat and card-carrying Democrat, and I'm not for abortion, but I am for you having the choice to make that decision. That's a private decision between you and your husband. That should be made between y'all, and the government should stay out of it. So I have a I don't like when people say either you're for, you can be for both. You really can. I just don't think it's the government's decision to tell a woman what to do with her body, because there's no bill in the world, in America, that tells a man what to do with his body. No, nowhere. So how do we stand here and tell a woman what to do with her body?
Well, can I interject? Because we're not really telling her what to do with her body, because there's another matter involved here. President Reagan said everyone who is for abortion has already been born. The unborn has to have a choice as well, because they didn't make that decision to be, created. That was a choice that two parties made. And I know that some people say, well, what about the decision of rape? Rape happens so very little. It rarely ever happens. It's a minuscule percentage.
It happened to Mike's wife.
I'm sorry?
It happened to Mike's wife.
Sorry to hear that.
Mean, it does happen, and I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I really am. I mean,
did she become pregnant?
No.
As a result? Okay.
And I meant as a result.
If she would have, she probably would have carried the baby to term.
She would have carried the baby, you said?
She would have.
Well, and God bless her for that. And God bless her for that.
That's what we believe in. But I just think it's a false choice. I really do. And again, I'm not pro-abortion or anything like that, but I'm very much for women's rights to choose.
But I mean, she chose to have sex, and she chose how to have it and whom to have it with. I mean, where does her choice stop? I mean, you created a life. Now, you eventually got to have accountability for it.
I agree.
So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from.
As long as it's not absolute. I think barring rape, incest, and things like that, I think we should. It's a personal decision that a woman makes, and I think they'll live with that decision for their whole life. And I think we as men won't ever know what that must feel like, and I don't want to know what that must feel like to have an abortion or to give birth or anything like that. But I think it's a private matter between them and their priest.
And speaking of President Trump,
the government should definitely stay out of it. Either way, the government should stay out of it.
Well, that's how President Trump believes. Only 3 exceptions for abortion: rape, incest.
And again, and let's go back to the thing about Michelle, and I've seen all the theories about their law degree. And when I first saw it, I did my research, and it was false. They didn't. They're moral, honorable people who are church-going people. We just differ in views. That's all. But I don't discount their religious belief, and I don't discount Trump's religious belief. But I believe what I see. And
let me speak.
And going back to veterans, the man did 5 deferments. The man said on TV that he's never had a reason to pray or ask God for forgiveness because he's done nothing wrong. The man's been married 3 times, paid money to a porn star. And again, I'm fine with all that stuff, but don't be a hypocrite and say you're a God-loving Christian. You can't be both. You can't be.
Well,
we can't have the hypocrisy.
Well, let me
half of the stuff he did.
Let me speak to this, if I may.
Go ahead, because maybe I'm wrong.
Can I chime in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Please.
This man was married 3 times.
I'm from the Bronx, New York, right? I grew up. Lived that urban life. Grew up on public assistance. I often reflect back when David Dinkins was in office and he lost the election to Rudy Giuliani, and I thought it was over for black people, right? I said, man, just because, Rudy Giuliani, he's Italian, he's white, he doesn't care anything about us, we're going to struggle really hard, right? What did he do? If you know his legacy in New York City, he did great things in New York City as far as cleaning up that city, 42nd Street, the district, right? He cleaned it up a whole lot. As far as President Trump is concerned, right, and him being a Republican, a lot of my support for him stems from, as atrocious as this may sound, his support of family, his values, right? Now you mentioned Obama, him being a morally decent individual, and Michelle Obama being a morally decent individual, and believe me, they represent wholesomeness when you look at them, I believe, from the natural eye, right? With the natural eye. But when you take a look at some of the policies that he put in place, if you're looking with a Christian lens, no self-respecting Christian is going to say that this is a man of God.
Give me an example.
I'm going to go to the elephant in the room, and I always talk about this, the LGBT same-sex marriage. Now, to anybody that looks, again, with a different lens, they're going to say, okay, he did a good thing. He provided a way for same-sex marriages and partnerships to receive benefits, because prior to that, they weren't able to do that, right? Now they have a legal relationship. I forget exactly what you call it, but it's not a marriage, right? Or maybe it is a marriage now, but there was a graduated installment of the rights that same-sex, couples were granted. And he begun that when he authorized same-sex marriage. Well, and again, we talk about family. We talk about the importance of morals when it comes to the very fabric of society, right? If you break down the family structure, the traditional family structure, which consists of a man and a woman, right?
Amen.
Back in the day, right, one of the first things that they used to do when it came to slaves, right, is they would take out the leader, right? They would take all the men, and humiliate them, because that essentially emasculates.
Why don't you call it what it's called? What's the term for that?
It emasculates them, right? It emasculates.
What's the term? No, there's a term for it.
Castrates them. Castrates.
They were bucking them.
What is the term?
Bucking them.
Bucking them. They were bucking them. Okay. So what that does is it takes the figurehead out of the picture, right? And essentially that is what happened when the same-sex marriage, and again, it's not a direct attack. It's a very subtle. It's because men and men, and women, right? You can say, okay, now there's two men. Now they're strong. No, that's not a fair argument, right? A man is supposed to lead a woman. According to Christian principle, the head of the man is God. The head of woman is the man, right? There's a pecking order. The woman, she takes care of the household, right? I look at my household, right? When it works best when everybody is playing their position. Now, I always encourage my wife to work, right? And she could whenever she was able to, right? But I want her to cook, clean, work, and take care of me across the board, right? Take care of the household across the board. But, again, there's a reason why the order is in place. As the family goes, so goes the nation, and so goes society at large. I like to repeat that and reiterate. As the family goes, so goes the nation, and so goes society at large. So Obama, he struck a blow to the very fabric and the infrastructure of the family, subtle as it was. And from a Christian perspective, that's just not a little thing, right? So once I saw that, I said, you know what? I know he's smiling. I know he's charming. I know he's black. I know he's a brother. right? But there's something that is just not flying right with this guy. And and now Trump, on the other hand, when we contrast, it's interesting because he does all the things that, you know, we would, when we look at it from a natural eye.
Yeah, Trump.
He looks like the devil, the Antichrist himself.
Trump could be, I literally could go to the club and Trump could be right at the club down the street right now. Trump is about as ghetto, you know what I mean? Like he literally is.
That's why, right? I mean, this guy, how did he even get in office, right? How did he even, you know what?
You know the thing. He got in office because of angry people, because people were tired of seeing the dog and pony show. You know what I'm saying? By the time people tried to conform to what he was doing, like Rubio, was it Marco Rubio? And then like he actually tried to like use the Trump style and talked about his hands or something. And then the next thing you know, his votes went down. And, you know, and that's the sad thing about American politics or politics in general, right, is because in order to get your endorsements, you wind up, it's just like Facebook, right? Depending on how you, like if you're like a social media influencer, you're going to wind up having a base. And those people are going to follow you. The people that are interested in what you're saying, once you deviate off of your specific message, then that's it. So Rubio, he might have been popular and he was young and charismatic, but the minute that, you know, he said, hey man, you know, look at your hands or whatever he said, I think it's something that he said. And the next thing you know, he was out. And if you looked at who was the other guy, the other really religious guy that he was going after, that was going after Trump.
Ted Cruz, yeah.
Lion Ted.
Cruz. The Honorable Ted Cruz.
You know, you look at all of those guys, to me, they literally look like you could go to the store and they're inside of a box just like a Barbie doll. They already come with, you look on the back of it, it says, you know, religious person, this thing, that thing, this thing, that. And you literally just purchase it, and then, you know, that's both sides. You know, as far as I'm concerned, what the Democrats did, you know, is there's a lot of things that they actually cater to as far as the people is concerned. But that's why the whole God thing got removed out of it, because just listening to you guys speak, I can already tell you that the religious thing wound up being the first and foremost guide that led you guys to even imperfect candidates, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just because this guy said this, well, I'm in. You know, I got to run with him. Bill already said that. You know, if this guy is, you know, believes in this thing, I just followed him. So then what happens is whatever, and that's what these politicians know. So they can have a whole wicked agenda, and that's both sides, but they speak to their base. Bill already is part of a base. Bush is already part of a base. Me, I'm not part of a base. I'm not anything. You know what I mean? I'm literally like the guy, you know, that's in the middle. You know what I mean? And that's why when even like I'm very critical of a lot of the things that happen in the hood. And then I'm also very critical of the things that, you know, that I also see that, you know, just like the Black Lives Matter. Here's George Floyd. He gets killed. Now you see this kid Cannon's face thrown all over the internet. You know what I'm saying? And I see it for what it is. You took this beautiful little boy, you know, forget race, right?
Let me ask you to not take it there yet, because that's a whole other can of worms right there. We can
but you're saying it's the same thing because
piece off, and then we can, you know, make a segue.
Listen, you know, it all ties in.
It does.
It really ties in, because the thing is that the people that are sharing the one kid's face is a base, right? Just like George Floyd, you already know who's sharing that. Democrats are sharing that, and certain people are sharing that. And then you already know when you see the Cannon kid's face, you know who's sharing that, the opposition. The opposition is usually going to fall to one side. Me, I'm caught in the middle. I think that both of the lives matter. I don't really care what you thought about George Floyd. He still was a human being, and no human being should be treated that way. You know, especially if this is the thing, I was a squad leader in Iraq, and we treated insurgents in combat better than we treated George Floyd. we treated him with more, you see what I'm saying? We treat insurgents with better respect than Tamir Rice, who was gunned down when a cop jumped out of the vehicle. And we didn't see anybody sharing or from the other side worrying about Tamir Rice and saying, say his name. So what about Emmett Till? Even to this day, right now, currently, his memorial site is getting shot up. They replace it every week. They get shot up again. This is a kid that was killed back in like 50-something. And
54, I believe.
And I don't see anybody before George Floyd and this thing became haywire. Where was all of the people that was talking that you see what I'm saying? So I have to fall in the middle. I'm in the middle. I just, you know, I like Mendez. I just vote where it matters to me, because I'm in a society where it's dog eat dog to begin with, and so it's me before anybody else. You know what I mean? Like it is.
Put the hands up, Mark. I see the hands.
Just because you can zoom it in doesn't mean nothing, man.
Yeah.
Good technique. Good technique.
Going back on where everybody's talking, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the bubble. It's mostly, at the end of the day, we're looking at each point of view, how people are looking at it, and what do they feel. I agree with some points and disagree with other points, but doesn't mean that those points are not right. You know what I mean? Just because of my certain beliefs, probably my culture, my way of life, it might be different. What you were saying about the letter one, LG, I always mess up too many letters in that little thing.
Yeah, they've added to it.
You know, they put another one, QT /
Q plus, actually, I believe it is.
So,
is it Q plus?
I think so. LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, and they even got a Northwestern University here in Chicago. They got a damn degree about that.
I'm gonna tell you something on the LGBT thing, right? Mendez, you probably remember a soldier that was in my squad when I was still in Germany. I guess I ain't gonna say his name, but that the other soldiers, I had got this whole squad of privates. You remember we had McKnight and Petrano, and it was all that whole group. But you know what soldier I'm talking about, because McKnight and them came and they was like, hey, listen, this guy, you know, during basic training, we had found out some other information about him, and he said some things. And then he was like, I don't know if he was doing like the shock value thing, but he was wearing like the clothes in the barracks that, you know, obviously it was going to cause issues and stuff. But it was weird because, you know, I was the type of sergeant that I tried to build my soldiers by also not just being the big meanie, like, oh yeah, you became an NCO, so you got to go scuff these guys all the time, and you got to find something wrong in the bathroom and make them use a toothbrush to clean the showers. No, I was the actual sergeant that, you know, I was fair. I came through to check on the soldiers. You know, I knew they were coming in from the club at night, you know, so I'd come down to the soldier wing, and, you know, I see some of the guys, make sure they get to their room and stuff. And the doors would always be open in the barracks, and you see the guys playing the games in there and stuff. And I remember we used to have the Halo tournaments and different things like that. But the one soldier, back at that time, they were throwing everybody out for their preference, right? And he said to me, he said, okay, so, yeah, that's my situation. Does that mean you're not going to come and stop by my room anymore, you know, to see how I'm doing, to check on me the way you check on the guys? Are you not going to play games with me anymore? Do you feel like my job? And at that time, and, you know, I was supposed to be mandated to report that, you know, and have him thrown out of the military. And I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know what, this is a brother, you know. And I remember when we was down at the, what was that little bar down there in town? Yeah, we were down there, and I remember Charlie Company. We got into it with Charlie Company, and one of them, I think, tried to hit the same guy. And we turned it up, man. We beat Charlie Company up. You know what I mean? And we were like, and you know what? Because he was ours. And I told him, I said, listen, whatever you do, you know, stop that stuff in the barracks. You know, whatever that, we just gonna pretend that's not here. Because you know what? At the end of the day, that's not my place. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like it wasn't my place. Like, I was supposed to destroy this man's life. He was only 18 years old, just came in the military, completed basic training, you know what I'm saying? and I'm a sergeant, and I'm supposed to turn around and destroy this man, report him, have him court-martialed, thrown out of the military. And you know what I'm talking about, Mendes, don't you? Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
You Mendes?
So at the end of the day, all of us.
You Mendes?
Again?
Was it you Mendes?
No hablo inglés.
It's the thing. That's why, I mean, at the end of the day, it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? So even when it comes to that, I have views from both parties. I don't agree with, I don't just do the drop roll. You know what I'm saying? I like I have conservative views, financial views. I believe in capitalism. But I also think when it comes to the social issues that I lean more with the Democrats as far as
I say a lot. I say I'm fiscally conservative, but I'm socially liberal.
Yeah, so I take views from both parties. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like, you know, as far as, you know, people, Democrats are going to hate my financial advice. They're not going to want to talk to me about that. And also, there's a lot of things that Democrats do that hurt businesses. You know, raise taxes. I pay so much in taxes. Okay, I got families that live in my apartments that don't even make in 1 year what I spend on taxes and on expenses in 1 month. Okay, in the month of December, this families that literally the head of the household don't even make what, you see what I'm saying? And every day Democrat policies are hurting me as an entrepreneur, you know. But then, like I said again, as far as the social issues, you know, again, when I look back at that, that was a turning point for me. And I have to say that was a smart kid, right? Because he was only 18 years old, and the other privates told me what was going on. And I had to deal with that. I've told a lot of people that story because I was like, man, that was a turning point. What was I supposed to do? I was supposed to march to the company commander and the platoon sergeant, and, you know, we're supposed to get this guy out of here. I think everybody in the platoon knew what he was anyway, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, this is where policies bother me, because to me, it's no difference than the black-white thing. You just turn around, and because somebody is this, they don't deserve to have any rights. We just, you know, we destroy their career. We do this, we do that. It's no different to me than having certain laws in place, like redlining and the things that the banks are doing to keep certain things in place. Like Chicago, why is Chicago the way it is? You know, we immediately go black on black crime, and we say that blacks like to kill each other, but we don't look at the root issues. Like I presented the root issues of the city I live in, which is mostly Caucasian people that are all poor, that are all on federal welfare, that are bringing bed bugs and spreading them through apartments. And because they have subsidized income and it's generational, in fact, I'll tell you this, I've been in real estate for 11 years. I think I've only seen one casket, okay, when there was time when a person died. I see GoFundMe accounts out here where people it's up there for 2 weeks and they only got $50 on it, you know, and these are native people to the area. So there's a lot of things that are being overlooked while we're talking about black people and why they're killing each other. I don't think we want to kill each other, but I think that people do things that are desperate in desperate situations. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, we play a part in that. But what do you want people to do? White businesses are not running to Chicago to set up stores. White entrepreneurs are not running in there and saying, well, now that we destroyed the Cabrini Green projects, you know, and now that all of these gangs that became splinter cells, just like we did in Iraq, actually, right? That's the same thing, right? Saddam was there. We got rid of one evil. Everybody turned around and became their own cells and was fighting for power. How did Chicago become what it became? We tore down the 2 biggest projects in Chicago where everybody was isolated, thinking we were getting rid of the threat. And now instead, every block, everybody is such and such 600, such and such owes this and that. And there's no banks are giving loans to those people. There's no jobs hiring them. The schools, I'm pretty sure without me being in Chicago, that I wouldn't want to send any of my kids to a school in the inner city there. But I can tell you here in this, huh?
whose fault was that, Mark? Where does the blame get placed when it comes to as we trace the people who had a role in it? Where does the buck stop?
I think that the blame falls again on the greedy politicians on both sides in their policies. Let's be real. Like, look at the mafia and how the mafia ran things. The Godfather is one of my favorite movies, and if you look at the mafia, the government was no different, but they were trying to prosecute the mafia for doing the same things, right? The government kills people. The mafia was killing people. The government was putting sanctions in and doing different things so they can open up trade and, you know, with who they wanted to. The mafia was doing the same thing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that we overlook because one is, you know, the establishment, and so they're supposed to be good. And then the other was just basically, to me, the mafia was just a mirror image of our government that was basically, you know, off the radar.
So are you saying that the government in place in Chicago, they didn't put policies in place to support the people and the businesses that were in Chicago?
No. Watch this. This is where racism comes in as well, right? Because that's like here in the city I'm in. The city I'm in, I could go right outside my house right now, and the bricks that were put in 1850 when the trolleys were running through is literally what you see in all of the streets. The only streets in this entire city that ever get the new updated concrete that, you know, that we've seen in Harlem 30 years ago is the street where the President Trump goes by, or Obama when he comes to the city. Everybody knows 6th and 7th Avenue, right by that school. They come in with the limousines and the taxis, and they literally, and you can look this up, they funnel these politicians right through that. Trump has never rode right on 5th Avenue where I live. He's never come into the inner city. And so there's people out here that have trees growing out of their porches. They're so poor. Then you got code enforcement harassing the landlords. Okay, so I can have a house right next door to me that looked like Godzilla stepped on it and looked like Freddy Krueger got a body in there. Okay, and then my house is right next door, and because I have like old money, it's built up and it's really nice. It's disturbing, you know, from one block to the next. So as far as Chicago is concerned, there's policies in place that the rich are getting richer. Okay, poor people are not getting anything because even myself as an entrepreneur, because of the violence and everything that is established there, even as a black man, I would never go to Chicago and start up and do what I'm doing right now. I would get killed. You have angry people that want a piece of something and they're not getting it. And so when these politicians get in there and they go, oh, we're doing things. No, you're not. What you're doing is you're putting more armor on police. You're putting more armor in their cop cars. Okay, so that they can continue to patrol these areas. But you're not bringing industry in so that we can start hiring people. I remember in Harlem using textbooks that had my mother's name in it from 30 years prior. Now, I could have swore that the president changes every 8 years, right? I could have swore that, you know, outside of the people that are career politicians in Congress and stuff. So how is it that I'm opening a book and it looked like it was from the 50s, right? But then you can go into a white community somewhere else, and like here, for example, they just built a brand new school for all these white children out here. But there's in Harlem, what is it? Rice Christian Brothers High School that I went to, shut down, no money, no funding. You know what I'm saying? No funding to a lot of the schools in Harlem. How about this? The bubble bust in 2007. Okay, prior to 2007, Harlem was burnt out buildings. Literally right down the street from me, I used to play in abandoned buildings as a kid. We used to play tag and jump from rooftops and, you know, walk through the rubble. It looked like Kosovo. The minute the bubble bust and white people came in, they bought up all of that property that wasn't bought up, and the others already owned it, and they turned around and fixed that property up, raised the rents, made them all into co-ops, voted all the black people out. So Harlem is not even black anymore. No more clams on 125th Street. The Apollo Theater is still there, But that's the only thing left to black people that's even in Harlem at this point. If you go to 125th Street, you see white people walking around with poodles and stuff like that. None of the culture that we had. And that, again, that's policies. But why wasn't, all of the police that Giuliani put in there, that was great. You was arresting all these black people and you was fighting crime. But why is it that there was no policies that encouraged the owners of those buildings to build them up and collect rents? Instead, left them for decades, sitting burnt out in Harlem all of those years until the bubble burst and white people got pushed out of the suburbs because of the housing market crash. Now these white people turned around and took that money and said, well, we're going to buy up Harlem, we're going to take it over. Now there's still black churches there, but it's not the same anymore. Harlem will never be what it was. And the same thing is happening in Brooklyn.
Let me jump in, Mark, real quick. Mr. Cullum, Anthony, he can go, right? He can talk. He's passionate, and he definitely is well informed. We thank you, sir, for your insights, for your God-given insights. We respect your God-given insights, and it definitely is something to think about. Most of these inner cities, the president likes to point out the fact that they are Democratic ran, and they have been historically, right? When we look at cities like Baltimore, has anybody been to Baltimore? That city
Chicago.
Goodness gracious. I mean,
Chicago's a Democratic city.
Democratic city. Chicago, Democratic city, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
You know why, Bush. Because see, this is where it's catchy. The reason why is because when people don't have nothing to begin with, if I take some kids into a room and I tell kids that I got this much candy in this bucket, and in this bucket over here, I got this much candy. The kids are gonna go after the most candy, right? So what happens is with the welfare, just like out here, even with these white people, it's not just black people out here. All these white people, I see 20-year-olds on SSI, which is federal welfare. They sit home, play video games all day. They have all of the video. I tell my kids all the time, if you ever walk through some of these apartments and you seen a bookshelf, you'd be surprised. Literally, the poorest people don't have a bookshelf, but they have an Xbox, they have video games, they have the SSI. I had tenants that told me that they were on Social Security SSI because they had anger issues and they couldn't have somebody give them instructions. You can get on there for not being able to read, which can be manipulated. Right, because basically you have to be able to read your own thing. So as far as the Democrat-run cities, yeah, there's more votes to the Democrats in those areas because you're going to give me $775 in federal welfare every month for the rest of my life, or I could turn around and I can try to get a job, out of the 2 or 3 that's offered or available out here in the community, right?
You hear me? You guys good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think you said it earlier, is generations. I think all this stuff we can talk about it. Yeah, blue city, red city. Yes, we can see more numbers in the blue city on certain things, but I think everything's going to come from inner, like you were saying earlier. Like you were saying, instead of having that extra, having that book. Having certain things within ourselves, it's on us to change it. Right here, all of us, at least the ones that I know personally, LT, I really don't know about your past before military-wise, but I know with Bush and I know with Cullum and same with you, Bill. I don't know that much back. But we come from an area I came from a little country town in Puerto Rico up in the mountains, and I am happy and blessed, and I am proud of what I have achieved on it because. My point of view is, my parents fought for so much to put me on a certain level. Now, it's not my fault that I was born poor, but it's my fault if I die poor. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. So I gotta go from that point up.
Right.
I gotta go ahead. My parents did so much for me. I gotta keep going. People say, "Well, I don't have this opportunity." The opportunity is there. How much are you willing to sacrifice to go get what you want?
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And depending on those, I'm here in Chicago, and even for example, I see certain organizations, and it don't push people to go farther mentally. You know, you can do a technical job. I'm like, why are you telling this kid to go technical job when he can probably go ahead and do something else? He don't have to be a technical 6-month school or whatever. That's not his life. He has more potential than that. Why don't we educate these people, motivate them to go forward? You know what I'm saying? Let's see what else is out there. I mean, I never thought I was going to be living in this city, for example, you know what I mean? And I ended up working for Region 5 FEMA, and I'm like, what the heck is this? You know, I barely can put a, you know, if it would have been for Grammarly, man, we would have issues when it comes to writing on paper. But that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunities out there. I think that it's not being pushed out to certain people. And I'm even going to go in my own culture. Orlando is Puerto Rico owned right now. You know, after Maria, that was a big exodus down there. People stayed in hotels for years because the government was paying for it. You know, when you got people telling me, I'd rather stay in this Section 8 apartment, I'm only going to pay $20 a month. And like you said, I'm going to get a check in every month. I'm like, listen, what are you doing? You know, why are you showing this to your kids? You know, they think this is the norm, you know what I mean? And then more comes, and I mean, it's going to duplicate. We got to demonstrate and show them different things. What do we have to provide to our environment, to our community, to be able for them to excel? I mean, I'm going to give you my hand to come out of the hole, but I'm not going to jump in the hole and push you out. Neither. You know what I'm trying to say? And I think let's looking at local political parties is going to, I think in the long term, we're not going to see changes next 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, not even in our lifetime, man. It's going to take generations as things are going to go by. And I think if we start from the low, like you're talking, Colin, starting local community, making that impact in that local community, making that impact to that young kid who's going to be our future leader, you know, in providing, seeing, hey, this is the point, the values that I think are correct according to what I see as life. You have this potential, and we're going to see those changes in time. But I think it's going to take everybody, that's not even a matter of blue or red, is definitely looking at a position like, hey, we as human beings, we can do more than what we're doing right now. Our values, our preference, got it. I do not like same-sex marriage, but I respect it. I do not like it when you try to impose it on me. This is different. You know, there's 3 different points right there. You know, it's okay. And I'm thinking at the local level, we could see how we can, what you're talking about, we can definitely start seeing the changes on it.
And this is also too, you know, because Black people, I know this is a talking point here, because we haven't even had a generation of wealth in the levels that you see, like Jay-Z became a billionaire, and, you know, we're seeing these levels. But what always disturbs me is when I see, even when we get this money, that we're misappropriating it. Like if I had the funds and, you know, that some of these guys had, I know it's a talking point, and, you know, but I would build a park. I would go to Morningside Park, and I would see what I needed to do or who I needed to talk to in Harlem to build that park up for little kids to play, to bring them out of the home and out of the video games and different things like that. But you don't see that happening. You know, and unfortunately, this is part of the disease that us as minorities have. So you see us in the rap videos, you see the booty, you see the chains, the jewelry, the money, and all of these things like that. And it's like we get stuck right there. And when we amass wealth, we buy these huge mansions on an estate somewhere in California, you know, and we have all of this money, we make the Forbes list, but you don't see nobody really, it's not a whole lot of us that are in the hood that are trying to talk to these politicians to see what we can do. I feel so bad for Chicago. I feel so bad when I hear about these young people every day, 9 deaths, and I see all these, I listen to a lot of the drill rap music, you know, and, you know, Little JoJo and all of that, and it's sad to me. These are all dead kids, you know, that unfortunately they grew up in an environment where they had to be a part of that. And I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying, even in Harlem or in the Bronx or whatever. If you was in an area and you wanted to try to be the kid that was not going to be a part of anything that was going on in the neighborhood, then you had no protection, you know? So these kids, they're growing up, their uncles are GDs, their mamas are GD, all of that, you know, and if you don't join in or you don't opt in, well, then you're a free agent for death, You know, you got to represent the block you grew up on. And so when I started studying, you know, that culture and understanding, oh, that's the reason why they call this guy old 600 such and such, because that's the block that he lived on, you automatically established that you have to be a part of that. You know what I mean? And then so of course, yes, I know how I am. I know how Mendez is, and we strive for more. But I think it almost feels like we're special people, because even out here, I know grown men that literally don't do anything. They don't advance themselves. They have all of these kids. You know, the kids are all collecting Social Security checks, you know, for ADHD, and it's a way of life, you know, and it's weird. Like the grandmother live in the house, the mother live in the house, or the daughter, and then the daughter's children, and then the grandmother dies, and then the mother moved to the attic, and you know, and they all collecting these checks, you know, and it's terrible. There's people out here, they don't have no job, they don't have no, they've never had a job, they've never had a license, you know.
Demographic is primarily Caucasian in our tune-up.
And that's why and that's why I'm saying it's not just a black thing. When I see on the internet, you know, they call us savages, and you know, they call us you know, jungle bunnies and stuff like that, and that we're welfare recipients and all of that. And then but I'm sitting here as a landlord, and I own all of this real estate, and 95% of my customers is Caucasian, and they're literally, when they're qualifying for apartments, they're qualifying through Social Security checks, federal welfare checks, you know, combined with the federal welfare checks of the children. You know, that is their income. Literally, nobody in the house has a job. And this is the thing, because it's already tax money, it's not considered income. So you can have 10 children, and each one of them is getting from Pennsylvania $775 plus $20 from the state, plus welfare $1,200. You know, it's ridiculous. You're buying lobster tails with it. They're not saying this. They're not putting this in the media. That's why I don't like the media at all, right? Because only put you know, what they want is an agenda in there. They're saying all this about black people. No, it's policy. It's not just black people. It's white people, black people, Puerto Ricans, green, whoever you put this in. When you put this type of money in front of people, all I got to do is take my kid in. If he bounces around in the chair for 10 seconds, he has ADHD, which qualifies him for a Social Security check. And now he can sit on Social Security. Once he turns 18, he'll go back in and requalify for Social Security for the rest of his life. He's, you know, it's a monstrosity. It's a poison, you know. And what baffles me is the area I'm in is like mostly Republican, you know, so it confuses me. I'm like, then there's people that tell me, well, you know, if you don't give these people that money, right, where do you think they're gonna go to get that money? Tupac said it. He said, if you don't let me make my money in the streets, I'm gonna make my money in the streets. If you don't hand $775 over to these people, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna have them running up in your house. They're gonna be running up in the mom and pop business owners' houses, different things like that. That's why this area is nothing but drugs. Heroin is coming in. They're busting every other day. It's a drug raid.
Hey, Mark, let me jump in for a minute if I can.
Okay.
That being said, you know, Bill, I'm looking for your perspective as a Caucasian individual from Tennessee, right?
Yes,
a Caucasoid male, right, from the Confederacy.
Yes, sir.
I'm right?
Yeah, with
what
Mark.
One second.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you know, COVID-19 has affected the job market, right? You know, I thank God I haven't really felt the pain. I'm working actually from Georgia right now, remotely, right? The type of job, I'm in cybersecurity. So there's a lot of remote opportunities, but there's a lot of Americans across the board, white, black, and everything in between, that are suffering. And, you know, we can't be indifferent to that. It's going to get harder if it doesn't get better. So
Yes,
with that being said, Bill, is, you know, from your perspective, are black people lazy? And is the white man the devil? That's your platform, Bill.
Well, I think there are some white devils. There are some lazy white or black people, just like there's lazy white people. Now, to what Mark was speaking to, that problem he was talking about right there, I've got white family that suffer from the same things he was just talking about. He'll appreciate this. Here's a stat he'll appreciate. 78% of millionaires are first-generational millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of generational curses here. I mean, it is, because me and Sean come from a Christian perspective. Let me give some stats. Do you know Daniel Patrick Moynihan?
Not familiar with him.
All right. Well, he was a representative in the 60s from New York, and he did a comprehensive report. And at the time, this was the 60s, might I add, during the civil rights movement, he said the problem with the Black community was 25% of children were born out of wedlock. Now the numbers are 75%. He thought then that was astronomical. I think it's a systematic approach to undo the family structure in all communities, not just one, all communities, because today, 25% of white children are born out of wedlock. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, my own family, there's probably just 2 or 3 girls who were not pregnant.
Bill, I'm sorry, you said something. You said it's a systematic plan to undo the family. Well, whose plan is that, Bill? Could you elaborate?
Well, I think it's an establishment plan, because we're seeing it unfold. You're looking at the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. There is no middle class anymore. It's evaporating. Mark can attest to that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's sad. I think it's a systematic approach. You talk about the good old boy club, you know, Republicans and Democrats. You hear this so often. If you put them in the same bag and tie them up, they'll come out looking the same. Mm-hmm. I think that's why so many people, and like Candace Owens, for example, why so many people love Donald Trump, because he's a breath of fresh air. Now, he's been married 3 times, and he's done some things that, well, I don't agree with. A lot of this was done before he was even a Christian, before he come to the faith. Pastor James Dobson said he did come to the faith on the campaign trail. So this was 2016.
Yeah, if I may interject, you know what's interesting? I was viewing something. I was somebody giving a testimony about a young Donald Trump actually, being involved in the faith when he was younger. He did something significant. So it was sort of like prophecy that he is now in a position where he is leading the charge when it comes to Christian principles in America.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And I'll give you a story to test about, LT. Can I call you LT?
You can.
Okay, well, I'll give you a testament about Donald Trump's character that you'll never hear from in the media, and this is true. Anyone can research this. He was going somewhere in his limousine. These guys ride around limousines. He had a flat tire. This poor guy pulls up and he changes it. Donald Trump asks him, "How can I repay you?" The guy says, "Well, just send my wife a bouquet of roses." Trump does that, but he also pays the man's mortgage off. I mean, this is a true story. This is not talking about the media. I hate the media for this exact reason, because they want to divide us.
Was he a Caucasian man? Was he an African-American man? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters. I think I'm not sure.
I agree with Bill. I don't think it matters. See, this is where I'm going to say here, again, even with those things, because and honestly, it's kind of like a hypocrisy, I guess. Because, I'm a landlord, so obviously what comes with being a landlord is I'm always going to be a slumlord. I'm always going to be called, and so in some ways I'll do that to the politicians. I just feel like there's opportunities to boost yourself and people jump right into that hula hoop, right? So, there's a side of me that says, man, he did that out of the kindness of his heart, and that he really, then there's a side of me that said, man, that was an opportunity to exploit. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna look good if it hits the papers. And I think they all do that, not just Trump. So that's why I said again, I'm like in the middle, because the thing is that we know that a lot of these celebrities, they go to other countries and they do certain things, right? But they don't even do that here. They don't even go to their own hood and do that. Like when they go around and they, this literally did happen right here in this town here. Okay. I was attending a church with my children and my family, and they were accepting donations for the less fortunate families in the area, and there was a stage, and they had several Christmas trees, on that stage. I took my van, pulled the seats out of it, took my children, and we went to Toys R Us and all of the different stores, bought up all of these toys and gifts, and filled up all of the trees. The pastor of the church, when the families were coming in, he asked me if I wanted to, go meet the families that were getting these toys and stuff. I'm watching them come to the door, and I said no. But then you have people that are in the area here that literally, every time they do anything in the community, it's right there for the community to see. So, it's like, is it because they care, or is it because it boosts your image? Because I never made a newspaper. I never got no credit for it. I just felt like I was giving back to the community because I could afford to. And but I know a lot of the people that do what I do, they're not doing that. They're not donating to these children and watching these families in tears as they're coming in and they're getting all of these gifts. But I didn't get no credit for that. I get called a slumlord, because a person didn't pay their rent and then they wound up getting evicted, or I wasn't willing to work with them or whatever. So yeah, the Trump thing is, it could be either or.
Appreciate that, Mark. Bill, go ahead, brother.
No, I was going to say he's a billionaire, and when you're a politician in your office, you don't lose money. You look at ABC and other resources; they say he's lost $1 billion as president. Now, he's not doing it for himself; he's doing it for we the people, and I think that's why people love Trump so much. And this isn't me speaking. Candace Owens says that he'll get at least 20% of the black vote this time around.
Let me ask you, Detroit, what's the demographic out there, gentlemen?
Again?
Anybody know offhand? It's Chocolate City, right? Is it Chocolate City? They call it? Is that the nickname?
The Motor City.
The Motor City, right?
Yeah.
What city?
Chocolate City is Atlanta.
Yeah, DC is Chocolate City also, right? I've heard DC referred to as Chocolate City. But
or the swamp.
Yeah, but listen, Detroit, talk to the working man out there, right? They have factories out there, right?
Amen.
Ford,
yes, sir.
right? Hey, Trump came and he said, look, bring those jobs back from overseas and, give this to the working class. They love him. They love Trump out of Detroit.
Well, you got to understand that also, Bush, sorry to cut in, but you just hit one of the main driven point for Trump is that right there. Bringing jobs, bring everything back home.
Yes,
he used the pride of United States of America to already a group of individuals, of citizens, who we are proud of, who we are, because we are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation that everybody, our past came here for a better life. So he's utilizing that train for that motivation right there when it comes to be like, hey, bring jobs back home. For me as a business owner, I do a consulting for the government. I got a shipping company. This past 4 years for me has been a blessing. I mean, I'll be in Laos in October at the U.S. Embassy, and I'm going to be doing their imports from Laos to the United States.
Wait a minute, my brother. Say that again. Last 4 years has been a what?
For me, it's been business-wise amazing.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest with that part, because everything was coming stateside. So what happened with all those companies out there? Me as an international shipper,
hey, we went in, Mendez.
Strategize that differently, right? But what I'm saying is he utilized that train and that momentum to go ahead and get a lot of people moving, because we saw what happened in Detroit.
Where did momentum start, though?
Say again?
You said you mentioned momentum, and where did the momentum start?
Well, once he started bringing the companies back home, bring jobs back home, people automatically will start jumping on that train.
How did he bring jobs back home?
Well, I'm not saying they actually started bringing it, but just the fact of him saying it, instead of outsourcing it out, automatically people's going to be like, yeah, I'm getting on that boat.
I think you're shaking your head, Bush, but just because you say it doesn't mean it happened.
Can I intervene?
Our manufacturing jobs are still declining. Matter of fact, going to 2019, it's at a 27% low. He had a boost. He was given a head start. He was on the 10-yard line that a good economy was handed to him, and he ran it in and he scored a touchdown. But since COVID-19 and started 2019, our manufacturing industry has gone down, including in Detroit. So I really do appreciate how y'all feel, but these are feelings. Show me the data. I'm very much driven by data.
Yeah,
Well,
And
LT,
the data
we
does not
talk.
support
We talk, LT.
what you're saying.
We talk, LT.
Yeah,
We
manufacturing
agree.
jobs are not coming back to America. It's
We
sad to
agree
say,
that
but
Trump
America is becoming a
initially,
society of service industries.
he attempted to bring those jobs home, and he was deterred from
I was with him. I was with him, and there was the
That's
approach
what
he
I was
took.
saying. People were jumping on that train as soon as he started saying that. And
Mhm.
that's the momentum that he, as a president, started getting from a push from supporters. Like, I'm bringing this back home. I'm building a wall. I'm doing this. And people
For me, it's just talk. You got to show me. I need to see the data, and I want to see the numbers. That's
Okay.
I'm a numbers guy. You got to show me the data and numbers, and I'll
Like-
get behind you. And I actually did like the fact that he was talking about bringing back manufacturing jobs back to America, even though I thought it was going to be tough to do because those jobs are gone, and for the most part they're not coming back, and they're not gone because Americans are lazy. They're gone because of technology. I mean, nobody's trying to bring back the milkman. You got companies that are leaving America that they used to be proud American companies like Pfizer. Pfizer, their headquarters is down in Ireland because they get lower corporate rates by being in Ireland. They also can pay their employees less. They can cut down on their sales force, and the rules and the laws are more beneficial for American companies to prosper overseas than it is in America.
Yes, sir.
For example, you remember he came to Illinois, Trump did, and spoke at U.S. Steel in Granite City. I'm 30 minutes from U.S. Steel, Granite City. Those jobs were there for about 30 days, and then they laid off half of their manufacturing force. So you can check that out. That Granite City Steel opens, hires, and then shuts down and closes. And it's because of all the cheap Chinese steel that floods the market.
No,
If
you're
he
right.
could have stopped that, I'm on his side. But at the same time, I'm not going to be a single issue voter. There's other things I care about. But just be truthful and honest and show me the numbers. I don't want to hear all this emotional stuff.
No.
Just show me the numbers. Don't lie to me. Show me the numbers. And I believe you.
Now, me and Sean can attest to this from the Christian perspective. Globalism, that's the world evil right there. Globalism has deflected this country.
Billy, let me ask you a question. How does a man who has businesses and hotels all across the world and negotiates contracts with CEOs and investment business persons all across the world, including China, including Russia, is going to claim not to be a globalist?
Okay, well, he's a globalist businessman, but as a president, he's an American first man.
As a president, he's claimed to be a nationalist.
Well, a nationalist is not a bad thing.
Not a good word.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have.
You're missing one word out of nationalist.
Okay, again, though, you're talking about feelings or facts. Now, a nationalist is not a bad thing. It's gotten a bad image. That's how people feel. A nationalist.
Globalist.
Well, a globalist is a terrible thing, actually. It's cause of the world's evils. Like you just stated, all these jobs have been going from this country for a long time.
Yeah.
I tell you how, and Obama and McCain both said when they were running for president, these jobs aren't coming back. And Obama actually challenged Trump. What magic wand do you have that you're going to bring these jobs back? Well, I tell you what, a backbone for one, standing up to our enemies, not appeasing our enemies.
Like China?
Well, like China, these tariffs.
Look, and again, I'm all about going on a trade war with China, but China's going to go. They're going to play the long game, and Americans have not shown the ability to play the long game.
Well, no, you're right. They will play the long game because he's a tyrant. He's a dictator over there. He doesn't have to worry about elections. Trump does, but he's not worrying about this because look the numbers up. He has strangled their economy, and they know it. He
strangled the economy for the poor people. The rich people that are in charge, they're going to be rich and in charge.
Well, look what's been going on with people. A lot of these countries start out as tyrannical governments, and the people eventually get tired and they have a revolution. You look at
I get you.
Eventually Trump's got
China's
this.
going to put that hard fist on you. And I live in Illinois. We grow a lot of corn. That trade war did not help the corn farmers in Illinois or the soybean market. It did not at all.
Now he also
and that is just another form of social welfare.
Now
that's all
one thing that's going to help out manufacturing jobs here is redoing NAFTA. NAFTA was a terrible thing, which was done under a Democratic president. You got to allow these things to take effect because Well, I mean, if you want to go back to COVID sunk the economy back to Obama levels. It took a worldwide.
Our economy was increasing under Obama. He brought us out of a recession that a Republican put us in.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, if you put these
Obama brought us out of the recession that a Republican put us in.
More money.
Clinton brought us out of a recession that Republican put us in. If you look throughout history, it's been the Democrats that have saved our economy, not the Republicans.
Actually, that's not true, because if you look right at the tail end of 2000, right as Clinton was leaving, the bubble busted there, the tech bubble busted, and that started the recession there, and the housing market crashed.
We were in the black. We were in the black under Clinton. When Clinton left the office, we were in the black.
Yeah, well, not in the red. There's a reason why he balanced the budget.
He did.
And he did balance the budget, but he also sold us out on everything else. I mean, he was selling trade secrets to China.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, these are documented. The Clintons are owned by the globalists, just like the Obamas, just like the Bushes. You know, these people, go back to Richard Nixon, these people are all the same. That's why Trump is hated by the bankers, because he's going to get rid of the central bank and the Federal Reserve eventually.
But he hasn't shown that. Again, answer my question. How can you do businesses? What did you say? He's a global business person.
Well, he's a global business.
But he's an American nationalist.
Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with being an American nationalist.
Well, let me speak to that for a minute. I think, again, we can't ignore the fact that we don't know how President Trump got into office, right? But when you look at it,
I know how he got in office. He got in office.
I heard Mark say
it wasn't by the popular vote.
It's a lot of angry people out there, right? That
a lot of people were angry. And again, nobody likes to get on the negative politics, but the negative politics works. If you can blame the other, that does work.
Well,
he's not the first who's done that.
There is evidence that
Nixon
he was correct.
Bill Clinton did it. He did it when he was talking. Well, Bush did it when he talked about Reagan. What one was it? The war on crime or the war on drugs?
Yeah, that was Reagan.
That was Reagan.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton did it when he passed the crime bill. Nixon did it when he talked about the law and order, and Donald Trump did it. All of those people won by blaming other people. That does
LT,
win you an election.
LT, I definitely respect your perspective, and it's God-given. With that being said, I want to point attention to, point of direction to Bill's hat. What does that hat say, Bill?
Make America godly again.
Make America godly again. All right. So it's interesting. That hat is a play off of Donald Trump's popular hat, Make America Great Again, right?
Yes,
Is it made in China too?
Right.
I couldn't tell you. I don't even know. Let's see.
It's probably made in China or India.
Most everything else is. I got a pair of shoes that were made in Vietnam.
We got a good question. I see where you're about to go, because I would have wanted to ask that, just to see what everybody's, views on the Make America Great Again. What,
it's not new.
Let me point here, Mark, and I'll pass it right to your way, brother. So the president, first thing he does when he gets in office is what? That got all the evangelicals spun up. He takes Jerusalem and he makes it the capital of Israel, right?
How many Americans care about that, Rashawn?
No, a lot of people do. You're talking about promises kept.
I don't know one. I don't know one American that cares about that.
But promises kept, evidence.
What they care about is jobs in America. And the reason why we'll never have manufacturing jobs come back to America is because Americans are not willing to make that sacrifice and pay an extra buck for the merchandise that's made in China.
Well, LT, the Americans that care
we got to get behind that.
The Americans that care about that are the Americans that are viewing this situation in the country from a Christian lens. Of course, God says
you were willing to take that and move past all the infidelity, all the crimes, all the corruption to be a single issue voter.
So do you understand
and Bush and LaShawn, these are documented. His cabinet members are in. How do you look past that stuff? I look at the whole man.
You know what? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how. We're not saying that this man is the second coming of Jesus Christ.
No,
All
sir.
right?
Well,
Not
you
at
may
all.
not be, but he's saying it because, again, he's the chosen one.
Well, let me say,
He's saying it.
how about this though? What did they do with Obama within the first couple of weeks
I
of
get
him
you.
being in office?
So why do you have to beat down Obama?
No, I'm not beating him down. I just I want you to. It's a
Let's just
comparison
talk about
and
Trump.
contrast. Hear me out. It's a comparison and contrast. They gave President Obama the Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Yes, sir.
They did. He just walked into office and he got the Nobel Peace Prize.
Do you know why?
I understand that he's the first Black African American man to.
You don't think that's a big deal?
And that's significant.
It is.
Yeah,
It's very significant.
Right, but again,
But that's not why he got it.
Once his actions thereafter did not live up to what he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for.
Why not? Did he
Because
start
he
a
was
war?
the first African American
That's not why
to
he
get
got it.
office.
Well, as far as I'm concerned,
But what did he do for African Americans?
well,
So going back, let me say this.
we gotta be honest though. They made it clear that nothing that he tried to do was going to make it past the House and the Senate. So
Wait, Mark, the first book, when he became elected, you didn't hear about the Tea Party. You heard about the Tea Party once he became elected. The first book I read once he became elected, it was What Happened When the Tea Party Came to Town. And that was when Mitch McConnell said verbally, his job was to make sure that he's a single-term president. They voted against everything this man tried to do. And I'll tell you this, the other two things I think he failed at.
I don't think he tried to do anything.
The first thing he failed at was trying to
What
be
he tried to
bipartisan.
do?
When he had the House, when he had the Senate, when he had the in the White House, he should have pushed all his regular.
What did that man do? He's from Chicago.
About trying to be bipartisan.
He said they're not
The
going to
mistake he made was by not advertising all of his successes. Everything he did, I don't agree with everything, but it's just successes. You can just use your Google machine.
But wait a minute. So it's almost
the fact that we came out of a recession.
Wait a minute, but the media didn't love Obama.
They did.
Oh, they did.
They did. But
They
he
loved
didn't go
that
out there.
man.
He wasn't on the news every day.
it was refreshing, to be honest.
Look at me. He didn't do that. And a lot of Democrats didn't say, look at him, look at him. They challenged him.
He was a bipartisan president.
Who?
He brought everybody together.
He tried. He failed at it.
So where's this argument that they were against him?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. He had no choice. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like being a black landlord in a city full of white people, and knowing that with the names that I'm called when I walk away from collecting the rent, and knowing what I get called when I drive off. I will tell you this is a fact that, and I don't think that all white people are racist, but it's kind of like a below the belt thing. Literally every single time that I've gone through an eviction or there's been some type of discrepancy, and I have text messages I can pull up in my phone and show you what I've been called. I've actually was assaulted a year ago by a female when I tried to enter an apartment that we had a code enforcement inspection. So, I mean, I think some of these black politicians know that they're not going to get a whole lot of things by, and they try to work with the other side so that they can at least get some of that what we call porking at this point or whatever.
They I need to look it up because I'm going to think about it all night.
Well, let's look at Senator Tim Scott, for example, from South Carolina.
Look,
he's a black Republican, and
I know Tim Scott personally.
The black community hates him for the most part. I mean, look at the Hodge twins. They think differently, so they're the enemy. They get called the same exact things that Mark gets called from white people, except by their own community.
Look at my text message. Yeah, we can't cherry pick some people. Like, I give you an example. How do y'all think about Colin Powell?
Well,
I like Colin Powell. I love Colin Powell.
Colin Powell? Yeah, I like him.
He's a typical establishment candidate. I mean, you're seeing this. I mean, he's a Republican by name only. I mean,
why is he a Republican by name only?
Well, I mean, what does he stand for? Okay. He's a Republican, but he's not a conservative. That's a better.
He's very conservative.
And what? I mean, he's warmongerish. He's hawkish. He loves to be at war.
Why is it just because he voted for Bush? Or no, I'm sorry, he voted for Obama, and he's supporting Biden. Now all of a sudden he's not
and he supported Hillary. I mean, he's never supported a conservative candidate. George W. Bush was not
in the Bush administration.
Yeah, but Bush was not
I don't think he really has, a strong backbone.
No, I don't either, and I agree. And I see. And Bush is not a conservative; he's a Republican. Reagan was more conservative. Trump's the most conservative president we've ever had.
Well, you know, one of the most important things that we said in the beginning of this is, well, like Mendez said, and I kind of said it too. Like, selfishly, I vote, you know, what helps me, because I feel like I got to worry about under my roof before I worry about everything else. And it is a hypocrisy, because I did say later on that if I had a lot of money, I'd donate to parks and stuff. Well, maybe Colin Powell, as a black man, has a lot of views that, you know, are Republican, but he put that aside and said, you know, my people, though, need this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit that. Like, you know, McCain, right, was a Republican, but when it came to, like, that health care bill, whatever, right before he died, you know, he was the Republican, and he's like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, he shot it down. So
this goes back to what you're saying. I don't think people are true conservatives or true liberals. They were never going to appeal Obamacare. It was just a talking point. It was a wedge issue. Obamacare is a wedge issue. Abortion is a wedge issue. Because if you want to separate yourself from the pack, you need to truly separate yourself from the pack.
Like Donald
They
Trump.
really didn't want to appeal Obamacare because they couldn't. It was working. People loved it. And the fact that it was so entwined in our economy, if they wanted to appeal it, they could have repealed it when Trump was first in office, when they had the House, the Senate, and the White House. Why didn't they repeal it then? They didn't want to.
They didn't, no, you're absolutely right. And that's
what's the one guy that deals with the housing portion? The doctor.
Ben Carson.
Yeah, I think he's a clown. I think he's a puppet. You know, I guess a house Negro, if you want to call it that. I think he's a disgrace. You know, and it's sad because he's a very accomplished man. But like I said, both sides have him. You know, but I think I wish y'all views. I mean, Trump knows.
Let me ask you this:
he's a businessman. He knows exactly where to put that guy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Ben Carson, what is he famous for, gentlemen?
Brain surgery.
He's a neurosurgeon, right? He's one of the smartest.
Man.
And not only that, he's a genius. He's the top of his field of profession when it comes to brain surgery.
Brain surgery.
That's what I had Ev.
You know,
that's a very specific thing he's a genius at.
I understand. There's not too many people who can even be brain surgeons.
No, you're absolutely right. He's a genius.
But you know what? The media looks at him and they spin it and they make it seem like this man is.
LaShawn, didn't he say that the pyramids was brain silos? Didn't he say the pyramids were brain silos?
You're saying that he could do brain surgery and be at the top of his field, but when it comes to managing housing,
you know, I'm gonna say this. Listen, common sense, I tell this to even my kids, right? Common sense and intelligence is two different things. And I'm gonna say this for the LT, right? Because I used to say this, and Mendez will tell you. You got a lieutenant. They'll go to school for 4 years. Then you got Sergeant First Class Arnold Schwarzenegger's Adra, who's got about 1,000 ribbons on his uniform and been to 80 billion conflicts, and some guy that just comes in as a butter bar, okay, is in charge. Yeah, you're very intelligent. You passed your test. You went to West Point. But when we get to war, there's a common sense factor. And so what happens is Ben Carson is a very intelligent guy. But I don't think he don't have no choice but to be the puppet. I don't even think common sense is even involved at this point because he wouldn't even be speaking. Trump is like a gangster. Trump can come to Harlem and he can hang out with me and the fellas on the block, and if there's no cameras rolling, I think he would be like cool to hang out with. You know what I'm saying? Trump is really down to earth like that. You know what I'm saying? But so I know Trump is not going to allow Ben Carson to speak or represent his administration unless he fits squarely in that puppet role, and he does.
Let me ask you: anybody know where Ben Carson grew up?
Say again?
Can anybody answer the question? Where did Ben Carson grow up?
Was it Baltimore?
Close.
Was
Close.
it Baltimore?
He was in the hood. He grew up in the hood.
He grew up in Detroit.
Sean, man, we're forced to read these books about him in Atlanta. But yeah,
He grew up in Detroit.
He grew up in the hood. But that don't mean
hood, man.
It don't even mean that.
Understand that.
You know what? Let me tell you this. When I was in the hood, and I grew up in the real hood, there's guys that grew up in that hood that only stayed home and played video games. Remember, like Nas went after Jay-Z, he was like, you scribbled in your notepad, created your life. There was guys that literally only saw things out the window. Ben Carson was, I love it when these guys get in there and they go, I'm from this place and I did, but you never came outside. You know what I'm saying?
Let me say this.
He was on the porch.
I'm from New York City, right? Now, listen, I was a Christian since I was 14. You don't even have to actively look for things to get into in New York in order to get into something. You step outside your door in the city, and you're gonna get into something, right? You can't even go to the grocery store.
You know what? I'm with you, LaShawn, because didn't you say he stabbed somebody at McDonald's?
Hey,
yeah, I remember that, and it was like,
man.
You know what? Listen, look, and I even use Jay-Z for an example. Anybody with all the social media and everything out there, has anybody ever seen a video with Jay-Z punching somebody in the face? Has anybody ever seen a video where Jay-Z was in a club and somebody caught footage of him jumping somebody?
I saw him hit a girl.
King in New York. He was selling all this drugs and he got all this stuff going on, but there's no footage. Nowhere. Nobody even
wait a minute. That's like Ice. That's like Ice Cube. Ice Cube. I shot. What's his name? O'Shea. He give you that mean grill, right? Like, he about to kill something. If another
hey guys, I really got to go, man. It's been great. You guys are hilarious. We got to do this again.
LT, why you running?
You know what? Yeah.
Get going, man.
Man, you guys are hilarious. Anyway, man, I appreciate it. I'm not sure how you hang this thing up.
Where Jay-Z actually, I don't know anybody that.
Spartans, LT.
And God bless you, LT.
God bless you, LT. It's good seeing you after all these billions of years, man.
We'll see you again. You're on mute, LT. LT, you're on mute.
He's mute. I can hear him. Yeah.
I can't hear you. On mute.
Hey, I said anyway. It's been great, y'all. Y'all just
hey.
Change the topic a little bit. LT actually brought that spice that we needed, because a lot of us are business owners in here, and a lot of us have certain views. Even and without him being here, we got to hit certain things. You know what I mean? Because we have to change it a little bit.
I'm gonna tell y'all
he brought a different connection.
Definitely. No, that's why we had him here. Because I had conversations with the LT, and you know what? He's an antagonist. He took it light on us tonight, right? But that's okay. We're trying to be respectful, and we got to learn each other, right?
Can I share a story about Carson?
Please.
Yeah, okay. Now, in 2016, when the primaries came here to Tennessee, I casted my vote for Ben Carson. I was born with a brain condition. I had to be saved by a neurologist. Now, I respect Ben Carson for being smart. Now, I'm not so sure that he didn't get outside. What did he do? He committed himself to make his community better. He was a brain surgeon. He saved people's lives. I don't know how much more you can ask from a man than that. I mean, these people, some of these doctors work 48, 72 hours without sleep, like a lot of soldiers. And they volunteered for this like soldiers.
You know what? One thing I'll say this. The one thing I try not to ever do, and I don't actually, because I always talk about Harlem. You don't want to forget where you came from.
No, sir.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna tell you this. Not so much with the celebrities, but you get black politicians when they get in, especially on the Republican side. If they really was in the street, they try to forget where they came from. You know what I'm saying? And then they want to go back to the hood and they want to they want to admonish everybody else that didn't make it. Right? They're not offering anything except, oh well, I did it, you can do it. And everybody is not built that way. We just agreed that he's a genius, right? There's a reason they study Einstein's brain. It's different than, any brain that ever existed, right? There's a reason that he has certain things, qualities. So, you know, the thing is that I call it these house Negroes. They get in and they're good puppets, and they fall right into their position, and then they forget where they came from. The one thing I can't do, and I've never even been to Chicago, but I cry for those children over there. You know what I mean? I really feel what's going on over there. I feel Ben Carson and these jokers, they don't care about that because they have an agenda and they fit right into their puzzle, to their parties. And that's both sides. I mean, there's no I can't believe that we're policing up Iraq and Afghanistan, and we got Chicago right here. Children are getting killed and shot down in the street. Bullets are going through the windows.
Margaret, didn't the president recently try to have the federal troops come in? And
oh yeah, but to me that's ridiculous. See, this is the thing. Just what he decided to do at that point, oh, I'm gonna send the troops in there. No, forget sending the troops in there. Day one in office, certain things should have been in place. You should have had somebody hired at some, you know, when like that's like me, right? I have a secretary for my business. She does a lot of research.
It's a Democrat-ran city. How about the state? Is it Illinois? Is that?
It don't even matter because the thing is that you're a president, and when you get into certain powers, you have this is like the DA or like when there's a murder case, and then the police department says, hey, detective such and such, you're going to be on this case. And then that detective, he'll tell a couple of the foot soldiers, hey, listen, I want you to go to the library, grab these books. I want you to go there, bring this information. We're going to review this, and we're going to look at this. No president, whether Democrat or Republican, okay, has turned around and said, hey, we got innocent children getting killed, 30 children killed in a weekend over here, bullets are flying through windows, but we worried about, you know, an interpreter and walking through Kosovo and in Iraq and Afghanistan, when they should have been saying, hey, we need to figure out what's going on over here. We're going to send people in the streets, undercover or whatever, figure out what's going on over here, report this stuff back. You guys got 90 days, and I want to know what's going on in that area. And then let's start attacking policies. Let's start looking at the infrastructure. Let's start looking at what are they being taught in school. Let's start looking at the families and different things. We're actually, just like even out here, I mean, these people do things to me, and I'm going to be honest, I hate a lot of it, but then there's a side of me that goes, well, I know what's going to happen when these children graduate high school. A lot of them are going to wind up on Social Security, SSI. They're going to do what mommy and daddy's been doing because they're conditioned a certain way. So me, if I was in office, I would immediately start looking at policies and start fixing things. I think that the Social Security should be done regionally, okay? If you're in an area where a federal welfare check can pay your entire rent, then there's a problem. Because what's the incentive? I had actually a man that used to work for me told me this. He said, if I can collect $775 a month, and I don't even have to leave my house, but I can spend time with my kids, why would I give that up so that I can work full-time at the Sheetz gas station, make maybe $1,200 a month if they give me 40 hours a week, and then after taxes,
let me jump in for a minute, Mark, if I may. Now, I think what you're describing is a dynamic that again, Republicans versus Democrats, there's no perfect party. We get that, right?
No, right, 100%.
But I believe my disdain with the Democratic Party stems exactly from that dynamic that you're describing. They're selling us that they're in place to, you know, make our life better, when in reality, there's no opportunity for you to get better. As long as we keep getting these handouts, we will never rise as, you know, the lower end of the social economic, you know, people above that standard of living, right? You know, whereas Trump and maybe those Republicans who are not perfect, they're trying to line their pockets too. But, you know, if you pull yourself up from the bootstraps, the catchphrase, right? Then you have an opportunity to get wealthy, right? Look at Mendez, right? Hey, business owner, look at you. You're a business owner. That was hard work, right?
You know, it's education. Like, I still think that when I look in this channel, I see it. You know, it's weird, right? Look at when I look at our military buddies, a lot of us are successful. a lot of us we came from a certain fabric. The job that we had to do, not many of us are not doing well, right? But then you got to think about when you group it, and I'll tell you this, again, same thing. I used to hang out with this one guy. He worked for me, and I think the worst time that I ever had as an entrepreneur and in business was when I hung out with him all the time, and I was always at his house, and I wasn't around. I could never find people that thought like me. So eventually, I had to have a social life, and I was hanging around a different type of mentality. And it actually made I wasn't buying no real estate. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't hustling hard. It was weird, but so what do you think happens in these ghettos when there's people that all live the same way? Same thing in the city, full of Caucasians. There's nobody telling nobody, even on my Facebook page, I could turn around and only certain people will ever click off on the motivational stuff or the inspirational stuff that I put up. And I guarantee you there's people that a lot of them see it. They're not going to touch it because they don't have no interest in it because so many people are outnumbered that think a certain way that they see what I put up as being cocky. They look at it and they go, look at this guy again. He's telling us that we can go out and we can be anything we want if we put our mind to it. Just like you put your stuff up, certain people won't even touch it because of the religious portion of it. And so you wind up having your base and so you'll come through and sign off. Mendez will come through and sign off, but we all have something in common. We minorities and we came from nothing and we came to something. Then you got people, there's some people that made it, but they're envious. I don't know if am I making any sense there?
You're perfectly making sense. And mostly, going back to one of my points that I said earlier, is how much are we willing to take a chance? How much are we willing to invest in ourselves, or how much do we really want to go ahead and move forward? Jumping real quick on what Bush was saying earlier on the communities and all that stuff about how the federal government, at the end of the day, we got to understand how everything connects. Federal government can say whatever they want to say, but the state has jurisdiction on the states. If the state does not want to go ahead and do certain things, federal government won't be able to get in. It got it. We got funds coming in and everything coming in, but if the state
checks and balances.
Exactly. If the state does not provide their part of the bargain, we're gonna see what we're seeing in certain cities, in certain states. You know what I mean? We got a sanctuary city here where I am. For me, it's a beneficial for my shipping side of the house. That's one reason why I want to stay here on that whole Asher, because I got a whole pool of Latinos that I can just have it in one location, right? But when we look at other point of views, it's different, right? It's not a good position because now you got a safe haven for areas for people to stay in certain locations. And that's what I'm talking about is like the city, the states, they all got to work together on one common ground. But what I do not like about politics when they utilize us as the citizen as a pawn for their objective. The Democrat says one thing, the Republican says one thing. Well, who's the one that's going to suffer? The individual one. You know what I'm trying to say? At the end of the day. And I think pushing the motivation and the way for people to move out is on it. I don't know how the transition from a government's perspective should come in to try to stop certain things to happen and to take advantage of the system. But I think it has to be engaged both levels, from top to bottom, from bottom to up. It has to start like with education within ourselves to start trying to stay away with it. But like Colin said, it's going to be hard for somebody's like, but in fact, I know people right now here who makes good enough money and they were getting paid over $1,200 for the CARE Act. And they're like, I might as well just stay home and collect my paycheck.
I've seen that.
And I'm like, man, you know what I mean? And people like, you're stupid. Why are you not collecting that money? You can collect that money. I'm like, I do not need to collect that money. I don't think it's right to collect that money. But then I'm like, you know what? That's like $1,400, $1,500 every 2 weeks you could be pocketing. But it's not right. Because I remember the sweat that we put overseas, what we have done, you know what I mean? And I don't want to take advantage of the system. Me. That's just me personally.
No, I agree. And, talking to everyone, LT, he asked, where does it start? I'll tell you, for me, it starts at home.
Mhm.
And I mean, it starts at home. And we've talked about this whole night. One thing it comes back to is it starts at home. What's missing? The family structure from, all communities, not just one. A certain media wants you to believe, hey, it's just one group. It's not one group. We're all one race. We're all the human race.
Mhm.
And that's what people forget. We're all humans. I'm white and I've experienced struggles like anyone else. The same struggles Mark was talking about, same struggles you've talked about. Me and Sean's talked about it a lot. You talk about the city of Chicago. There's a lot of politics involved. 1932 was the last Republican mayor in Chicago.
Wow.
1932, and they actually called the city of Chicago the Windy City, not because of the wind, but because of its windy politicians. Go back to Al Capone and so forth. I mean, you look at all across the board, Republican cities, Democrat-ran cities. Sean's talked about it. Look at the education factor. You look at a city like Oklahoma City, got conservative policies. More blacks graduate at a higher rate than whites do. You go across some of these liberal cities like Washington, D.C., Oakland, San Francisco, it's almost a 50-point difference. Some of them was 80 points. I'm talking about the graduation rates, the reading rates, what you can do math. 3% of students out in certain parts of California can't even read and write. And that's a shame. We are the most prosperous nation on earth, but it has a lot to do with politics. It comes back to home. And when you do away with the family structure, which you're seeing this play out in all communities, you're seeing the black out of wedlock rate at 75%. Latinos is about 50%, whites 25%. It starts at home. And we've taken God out of our nation, out of our communities. For example, Chicago is ran by Lori Lightfoot, who is a lesbian, an open lesbian. She hates Trump. The only reason she's even starting to talk about federal agents is because her home is getting vandalized, like certain parts out of Jenny Durkin out in Olympia, Washington. She was all for these protesters doing whatever they want, burning the city down until they started going to her home. See, when you start getting at the home of it, then people react, they respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts at home.
Bill, excellent points. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't draw everybody's attention to that point as well. This is a platform where we're going to discuss perspectives from a religious Christian, right? And if there's another faith, sure, bring those perspectives to the table. We won't run, we won't hide. We want to hear what everybody has to say, because that's how a big picture is arrived at, right? Anybody remember what John F. Kennedy said prior to him being killed?
Depends on ask not what you can do for or what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
That's right. I'm not sure if that's his quote, but I was thinking that's a great quote. But I was thinking of the quote where he said that there is a plot to enslave every human being within this nation or society, and I intend to expose that plot before I leave this high and noble office.
He said he wanted to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. That's what got him killed.
Right, and he ended up, he didn't last too long.
No.
As you see, that man who everybody holds in high regard, he was a Democrat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Right, but everybody loved that man.
Yes,
and
sir.
There's some people that say he was part of the mafia. He had ties.
In Chicago, for example.
In Chicago. But, he was speaking to something that is still in play. I was in the Pentagon, right? I was working, right,
Pentagon man.
from the Air Force at post-military now, right, as a contractor. And one of the VIP types of the office, I think it was the Office of Chief Information Security, he's speaking, and he mentions the New World Order 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Every time he did it, I said, did he just say what I thought? He said, whenever we hear of the New World Order, it's almost like a conspiracy thing, right? But no, this wasn't no conspiracy. We was in a closed office with all of the VIP types, and he mentions it very distinctively. And again, they're introducing this to this is what all this is about. The globalists
Yes, sir.
You know, the elites, the people with the real money, they're the ones that are giving the orders. And those principles that they have in play, when we really start digging deep, they're not the principles that this country was founded on.
Yes, sir.
You know,
You're
this
100%
is not,
right.
that's why the Democratic Party, they took God out of their, you know, I guess their verbiage when it comes to how they do business. We're removing God from the school.
Pledge. The pledge.
Hey, you know, it's from society. Period.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And you know, when that happens, okay, we can say that you know, it's a right for every man and woman to, you know, live how they want to live. But when we look at history and what has happened with societies in the past, the minute that they started moving away from God, they crumbled. Some of the most powerful societies in the world.
Well, Adolf Hitler, for example, he did that. And you look at Vladimir Lenin, he said that the ultimate goal of socialism is communism. And what is the Democratic Party about right now? Socialism. Now, they're headed towards, you know, the New World Order. Eventually, it's going to happen. But right now, we have to fight while we can to prevent it from happening, because that's our futures right there, our children's futures and so forth.
And that's why President Trump, from the evangelical perspective, is so revered. Yeah, we understand he's talking about grabbing by the PUSSY, and you know, but there's a bigger fight, right? That he can't even speak to in the mainstream media, because they're not gonna give him the audience.
Now, you know, like me, when I talk about this stuff, people say I'm a conspiracy theorist. Like LT, he was laughing at it because he thought I was a conspiracy theorist. Now, a lot of these things have been proven, and the more that, you know, we see play out, and globalism is the world's evil right now, and that has ruined America's greatness on the world stage. Like NAFTA, for example, it's taken all the manufacturing jobs and put them everywhere but in America.
And you know what? If I make this caveat, Bill,
yes, sir.
There's no question when you really sit down and you examine these trade agreements that have put America at a deficit for so long, what's been going on, right?
Yes,
JFK wasn't with that. He wasn't with it. But guess what?
Neither was Reagan. And Reagan was assassinated. Now, he wasn't killed, but he was supposed to have been killed. And see, when you start tying it together, John Hinckley Jr. was friends with the Bush family. He had mental problems, or at least that was his excuse. And George W. Bush, or George Herbert Walker Bush, was the head of the CIA in the 50s. He used his CIA connections to get rid of Kennedy. And then he was vice president at the time, and then he was supposed to take over. So, you know, these aren't conspiracies. These are realities now.
So when we look at the world, the way we're at right now, COVID-19, George Floyd even, right? George Floyd even. I don't think there was any coincidence that, you know, what happened with George Floyd and the riots that piggybacked off of the COVID-19 situation. That was planned. That's why it's referred to as a pandemic, right? A lot of people believe that. Now, I understand that there are families and individuals who have been affected by COVID, right? But it's being politicized. I mean, we had H1N1, we had the swine flu, we had, you know, a lot of AIDS, right? A lot of these epidemics that were real, but
we still got HIV.
Is being used to introduce policies, right? They just signed the peace agreement in Israel, right? Between Israel, Bill.
Think about this now. You were talking about HIV. Almost 40 million people worldwide live with HIV. When was the last time the world was shut down because of HIV? You've got a virus with a death rate of 0.04%. That means you have an almost 100% chance of surviving if you get it. A 99.96% chance of surviving. So, I mean, there is something much more at play here. And then the virus is just being used, you know, to piggyback off of.
Right. It's a tool. Again, George Floyd, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, right? When you start peeling back the onion, the layers of the onion, you understand that these principles that the organization Black Lives Matter, you know, represents or supposedly represents, these are not principles that the Black community are in really support of. I've lost family members over it, right? Well, you can't lose family. We've had public disputes over Facebook, right? Because how can I, an individual from the hood, right, you know, not support Black Lives Matter Well, if you, again, do your homework, you understand that Black Lives Matter, their whole agenda is to move forward the LGBT
Yeah, do away
agenda.
with the family structure. It's
And
founded by 3 lesbians.
they're trying to, again, gentlemen, I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if this is the first time you heard
Well,
it.
and you got a great question on it when it comes to the BLM. And it's like, as
Look at Mark.
what do they stand for?
This the all lives matter thing. You believe in that?
No, I think it's not that all life matter. I don't believe on the meaning of all life matter, blue life matter, brown life matter. I mean, I think the matter, the whole thing is I don't want to be utilized as, I don't want to be described in a group that's going to be utilized for other purposes.
Hey Jimbo, let me jump on it. Can I jump on here, Mendez?
Yes, sir.
I actually was meant for Bush.
Oh, you know what? Okay, thank you. I go for
That was
Mendez.
meant for you.
Mendez, we appreciate your guy giving perspectives.
No, I'm just saying.
You're gonna get Bush talking now. See?
I want to know, Bush, do you believe in that the all lives matter thing? Do you think that do you wrong with that?
I'm going to tell you where the disdain comes in, Mark, right? Now, I'm a black man that grew up in the Bronx, New York. I think if I scream all lives matter, right? It's more received, it's better received by people, right? But if a white man says it, right? He's from a distance, it looks like this dude is straight racist, right? Because you don't really understand what he's saying until you get up close. And
I've always noticed that if a black man, if you're a black man, you scream all lives matter. I've always noticed that people look at you funny.
You know what? This is true, right? But imagine if you're a white man and say that. They say you racist right off the bat.
I'm gonna tell you why. From my perspective, I don't. When I hear white people say that, and I don't try to brush everybody, but did all lives matter before? Was it Garner? Did it matter with Tamir Rice? Did it matter? Like, because this is the thing. George Floyd. Everybody's stuck on George Floyd, but they don't understand that George Floyd is. That's like a woman that keeps getting beat by her husband and beat and beat and beat and beat and beat. And then all of a sudden, then one day she wakes up and she says, I'm not going to get beat anymore.
Oh, let me say this. I need us to look deeper, right? I want us all to look deeper right now. Let's peel back the onion and look again at what happened. We were in the midst of COVID-19, a pandemic. It was changing the way we lived, the new normal, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
It changed the way we live. And then all of a sudden, in the mainstream media, George Floyd is the main center of attention and riots are happening. Is that a coincidence? I'm gonna
tell you this. This thing right here, this is the reason why the riots started happening. Without this right here, right, we wouldn't even know what George Floyd was. If this thing existed in the 60s, okay, and people actually were able to see what was really happening to black people. You know, we have like I call it the PG-13 footage when they actually got the water hoses hitting the old ladies and stuff like that. But could you imagine what one of these cameras would do, right, during that time when white men were, to me, on par, especially when they were killing black people with the insurgents that we were fighting in Iraq. What they did to Emmett Till.
But you know what, right? if I may, there's always been, you know, even to this day, there are alternative sources of information and media, right, that are not mainstream. When it makes it to the mainstream, the stuff that they're feeding us, 9 out of 10 times, there is an agenda, right? So, like, you could go over there and slap an old white lady right now, right? And, you know, unless the mainstream media deems that part of their agenda, that's moving the conversation along the lines of what they want to talk about, that's not going to get, I mean, yeah, it may circulate amongst us, but it's going to die down eventually, right? What they push is what they want to us to digest. But
I'm going to tell you, it wasn't America that did that. see, what happened was that, again, coming back to this, Steve Jobs ruined the world. I wish these things didn't exist. To be honest, there's a side of me that just wish they never existed. But you know, in the whole world, America is the biggest, the greatest country on earth, and yet they're in every country, got bases everywhere, and we're telling other countries how to behave, and we're training their politicians and their police forces, but yet in Chicago they're gunning down kids and
Listen,
you see what I'm saying? So the thing is that I believe that America got caught with their drawers down, right, with their skirts up, and now we're going, oh man, we gotta take care of our black people, you know, because now Iran and Russia, they're protesting everywhere. But what if the footage was not taken?
What do you think about the narrative that the race wars are something that the elitists, right, the globalists, the people with the money, that they have always used, right, to basically, it's like the gazelle, right? We talked about this before. The two gazelles that are fighting each other, right? The lion is coming from a distance. They're so busy fighting each other, they don't understand that the real enemy is about to, you know, take them out, right? So now, why do you think we're starting to become a socialist society? The people with the money, they've made their money. Right now, when it's time, even for black people, but we're just part of that demographic, because there's white people who don't have any money either, and Spanish people, and all across the, you know, the racial spectrum, right, the ethnic spectrum. When we have an opportunity now, we're not just ball players anymore, right? We're not just, you know, entertainers. We got people like Ben Carson, right, who are influencing, you know, people that President Obama's been black, right? But to have the opportunity to achieve greatness, are we going to be afforded that? Absolutely not. When I say we, I mean those that don't have, the have-nots. Are we going to be afforded the opportunity to amass great wealth the way others were afforded that opportunity? That's not going to happen. That's not the plan.
This is my belief that, you know, because it is what it is. I know that none of this is going to make a difference in any way. You know what has happened ever since this black people have become somewhat important to the world as a race of people, you know, it's funny, more white people have been empowered that, you know, some of our own brothers in the military, okay, I see their Facebook posts, some of the most toxic, and, you know, and sometimes I scratch my head and I'm like, man, I served with this guy, like, what is he saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, just like the Cannon kid again, you know what I'm saying? Say his name, you know what I mean? Everybody, all lives matter. But my thing is this, to me, your all lives matter means nothing if you weren't saying that, if you weren't outraged when black people were being persecuted and prosecuted and kicked and shoved and things were happening to them. Where were you at then? All of a sudden now you have a perfect image of this little white kid that you can put up on the internet. And to me, it's a disservice to his family because you've turned this child's death. You made, and I mean, George Floyd is the same thing. You know, you turn it into a symbol to combat people that are saying, hey, you don't recognize us now. You know, we're tired of this crap. You know what I mean? That's where Martin Luther King was born out of that. Malcolm X was born out of having had enough, right? And every time one of us has had enough and we try to speak out, we get gunned down or we get killed, right? And so my thing is that, again, I don't necessarily believe that this whole all lives matter thing is even legit. Because my whole thing is that I didn't see all of the outrage. When Tamir Rice the video is there. I watched the video. And little white kids play with guns every day, and I don't see them get gunned down. And you see this cop pull right up, get out, pop, pop, pop. Dead kid, you know, never convicted or anything like that, right? That's ridiculous. And so then they turn around and immediately, because some deranged black guy that looks like he was on LSD and like several drugs, kills somebody, kills this child, immediately black man kills little white kid. We outraged. Say his name. You see what I'm saying?
Mark, and that's kind of exactly what I was trying to speak to. It's manipulated to the advantage of those that want to keep us pitted against each other, so that we don't really focus on getting money, right? And look at the policies. Like the Democrats, they want to keep white, black, and Spanish and every other ethnicity right where we are, socially and economically speaking. And, Bill, please.
Well, let me pose a question. Besides Cannon, what was the last white person who was gunned down in any street? Could you name? Well, there's a reason for
You mean
that.
the circle? What you mean, like as far as like in the way this child was gunned down?
Well, any of them. I mean, any white person that was killed. I mean,
see this. And I know where you're going with this, but it's still.
It has to be addressed because the media is dividing people based on, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, honestly, people say Black Lives Matter, and Black lives do matter, but white lives matter as well. Now, Black Lives Matter, the organization, is nowhere to be found in the city of Chicago. Barack Obama is nowhere to be found in the city of Chicago to clean these things up. I mean, is it an actual movement to equality?
I'll tell you, when I look at the Black Lives Matter thing, I'm going to say that when you don't see them in the hood, because there's a different type of work that they need to do there. They're in the places where the conflict is at. There's a different type of conflict in Chicago, and that's a policy conflict. So anybody that's in Chicago, they're at the governor's office or at City Hall, and they're trying to make change so that change can can flow into the city, so you can start seeing things. The same thing here, right? These white people, they're going to continue to be generational welfare. They're going to continue to move bed bugs into apartments and be transient and flip apartments. And if you pull up the sexual predator list in this city, you would think that the city has measles. The incest and all of the stuff that goes on here, and this is the crazy thing is Republicans are running the city. You know what I mean? It's not even Democrats. To me, it's like I'm like, that's weird. Like conservatives run the city, yet all of these people are on subsidized income. So I don't even know if it's it's necessarily even a political thing. It's like I don't know what's going on here. It's like we're in our own weird world.
An indoctrination issue. People have been indoctrinated to think this way for so long. It's a generational curse over and over. It's like a snowball effect. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've seen it in my own family. I've got family members who had squalor. They come from squalor. And guess what? Their children saw that. You think they want to get out of it, but they don't because they were never taught any better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a matter of the heart. So what we're saying here, it is a human issue, not a race issue.
Hey, gentlemen, we're not wrapping up just yet, but I just want to say this before the evening gets any later. I know we've been on for a little while. I want to thank Francisco Mendez and Mark Anthony Cullum and Billy Ray Parrish for joining us, and thank Daylon Harris for actually making a cameo, and also Gotcha Bush. Part of the noise in the background, we got a Dr. Doolittle, going on right now.
And the bird actually talks.
Right, it's but again, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it all home and say that for me, right, it's really about my faith, right? The faith is what has allowed me to accomplish a lot of the things that I was able to accomplish in the military. Mark Anthony, Francisco Mendez, come on now, y'all remember, man? Y'all remember me? Hey, I'll go to OCS. I'll go, and they was just moving me around like a stepchild, right? Throughout, it's like I remember David Wade. David Wade, he said, Bush, I've never seen somebody work as hard as you've worked, right? I need you to go on CQ. Pull duty. I need you to pull duty on the weekend now, right?
You probably was so happy he told you that you had to
go say after that, right? He done built me up, right? He's Caucasian, and I want to get him on tonight so he can share some of his views. But I tell you, I just know where, I don't know where I would be without the Lord. And I thank God every day. It wasn't a perfect, career by any means. I made my mistakes, but it was a great career. And it was men like yourself, Mark Anthony Cullum, and Francisco Mendez, that I really enjoyed serving with. And I thank God for you. And I pray that God bless your families and Billy Ray Parish. Our relationship
Amen.
has been a blessing. Bill is doing a lot of work for the ministry, fellas. He's a workhorse behind Give Your Witness ministry, and he does some other ministry outside of Give Your Witness as well. And Bill, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for your perspectives.
Yes, sir.
Trying to be professional.
What you got going on over there, Bush?
Goodness gracious, I don't know what's going on.
Over there where you at? And Mendez was like he already been asleep for like 20 minutes.
Glory to Christ, great things.
I'm looking down at his screen. Any minute now, I'm gonna look over there. He gonna be snoring.
No.
Remember that CQ, that famous CQ picture with him? Was it him with Larry? No, it was him and Brinson. Yeah, and it was knocked out, boy. He looked just like that. I was like, yo, about to do the picture in real life.
We got
okay. Sergeant Brinson, he was sergeant at the time, right? Both of y'all were sergeants. And yeah, man. Well, now we out the military, so we ain't got to worry about nobody losing no rank. But hey, man, it was knocked out at the CQ desk, boy. Larry came out. Everybody came out in the hall. People was taking pictures. You know what I'm saying? We love Sergeant Brinson, right? But everybody expected him to fall asleep. It was so funny to see him asleep because Sergeant Mendez was like the goody two-shoe guy. I don't know, like he kept it real, but he never got in trouble for nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Brinson, Sergeant Poole and Sergeant Jack and everybody was tearing him apart. He was like a cupcake for those guys. They just apart everything.
You gonna be trouble. I already know.
Sergeant Brinson, listen, man. I still got the footage, man, from when we was in Kosovo in the back of the truck, man. And everybody was just tearing them up, man. The Russians was out there, you know what I'm saying? But, so it was funny to see Mendez get caught with his skirt up once. I was like, yo, he's human, man. You know what I'm saying? This guy actually does get in trouble, man. You know what I'm saying? So I got that famous picture, man.
Picture right now, so I can put it up, but I can find it.
Yeah. Man, I got a picture of Sergeant Poole knocked out like that. And Sergeant Poole, man, he was famous for having this Kevlar and that chin strap. His chin strap never was on right. Y'all remember Sergeant Poole?
You should have got him onto the Army Testing Command.
Very well.
His helmet always never was all right, man. I'm telling you, his cape pot always had that chin strap. He just threw it on. It was just sagging and shit, you know what I'm saying? He just came. Sergeant Poole kept it real, man.
We're talking about our time on 136 and the people we knew. And I think we all agree that there was no other unit that we served in that formed us the way that time formed us.
Yeah, that was amazing.
We gotta have a whole night of that, man. We gotta have like a night just to talk about that, man. Hohensfeld, Graf, you know what I'm saying? The scraps. Sorry, Harris wanted to fight me. Man, we had some good times, man. We had some good times, man. I remember they used to pull the couches out in the hallways, and everybody would come out in there, and Brown used to be out there beating everybody up in the hallways and stuff, man. Like everybody, like wrestling before MMA, man. It was 136.
It was a great
we used to have the Halo tournaments. You know what I'm saying? We used to hook up the Xboxes and bring them out, and everybody would bring their TVs out and had like 4 TVs hooked up, and we used to play Capture the Flag, you know what I'm saying, King of the Hill and all that. We had fun, man. So our first class Fox used to come through with them Conan sandals on. You know what I mean? He's a little tiny white guy, man. I'm like, look at this guy. It's so funny, like, because everybody wear a uniform. And then you see them when they dress in their regular clothes, and then you're like, yo, what's up with that guy? We had that one black guy that used to wear the cowboy boots. That came to he had the belt buckle. He was from Texas. He kept it real, man. He fit right into his environment. You know?
A lot of daring stories, a lot of great characters and personalities, and we're gonna try to get them all on this platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk. Let's see what their views and perspectives are, right?
Yeah, we get Sean Riley on here, man. You know what I'm saying?
Check out the Sean Riley, right? Hey, you know what? Bucos, which was one of the squad leaders in second platoon, right? Harris, right? Mad Harris, they called him, right? Sean Riley, Bucos, I think it was Dungy too. Those were like the squad leaders of the leadership over in third.
It's on First Class Adams on here.
Hey, there you go. Bucos writes me the other day. He goes, "Hey Bush, you know, I respect what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Basically, giving me some props. I really appreciated that. And you know, again, I learned a lot from those guys. It wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't easy at all. Nothing was given.
It was all
Work hard. Let me tell you something. This goes back to the race thing again. I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I was a hustler. When I came into the unit, I never forgot my roots. I'm not gonna lie. I always was raised to, you know, understand that I had to work twice as hard as the white guy, man. When I got to that unit, I wasn't trying, man. I was trying to have every waiver that came down. You know what I mean? I was all my correspondence courses, shoot, stare, cats is going to the club. I was studying. You know what I'm saying? And Mendez had the same mentality. We had, you know what I'm saying? Like honestly, if I had been a white guy, I probably wouldn't have been a sergeant in 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that, you know, me knowing, first of all, I didn't like getting smoked by nobody. So, like, the military was weird for me because I always felt like when a man,
the Harlem, New York thing, right?
yeah, man, like, Staff Sergeant Gonzalez smoked the crap out of me that one time because I forgot my weapon in the laundry room, I think it was. Man, that was one of the worst smokers I ever got. But I just never wanted to be in I needed to get out of that position of being, you know, where another guy could just come in your room and smoke you right where you sleep at. You know what I'm saying? I remember Sergeant Marco and all of them, man. They used to come right up in the room and get down. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, I gotta hurry up and make sergeant, man. I gotta get up there. So that was part of my hustle too, man. You know, we never forgot that. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of things. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that unit, man. You know, the greatest place ever. Still the greatest band of brothers ever. Even though there was a few of them that I wanted to punch in the face. But, you know.
Hey, we get an action going on in 2020, right? We're not too old, right?
Yeah. Well, at this point, if I was mad at anybody at that time, I'm not mad anymore. You know, it was had a lot of years that went by.
So, gentlemen, with that being said, again, I want to give glory to Jesus Christ for the great things He's done.
Amen.
It is my intent, our intent, to bring, attention His way, right? You know, thank you, Lord, for dying on the cross over 2,000 years ago, giving that sacrifice that allowed us to be in relationship with God the Father, right? And we just thank, everybody for being on. Now, I'll go ahead around the horn and see if anybody has any parting thoughts or, points that they like to make. But I guess we'll go clockwise. Mendez, it's your show. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate everybody's time. I know everybody got a busy schedule, even though we're in the lockdown. But no, I like this. It was very educated. There's a good stuff, information. I know we're going to be learning between each other's, not only probably what we think it is, but seeing other perspective. I always like learning what other people's thoughts are and how do they proceed to certain determinations. But I'm definitely looking forward for it, and definitely I think on the next one, probably we can just get some pointers. Direct pointers out, and that way we can come a little prepared.
I would say definitely. This was more like just us learning the technology, figuring out the mics and stuff. But yeah, we want to. What we really want to do is have a outline. We could talk about that during the week, and hey, listen, this is what we want to hit. And that way we actually, because there was a lot of opportunity for good conversation here, but I think we got so stuck on on that. I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of a boring topic, but you know, I guess we needed to, you know, because we didn't even hit what we were supposed to hit, which tonight was that we were supposed to be discussing what we were gonna do with the show and what type of things we were gonna hit each week, and you know what I'm saying. So, but it was good though, because I think I was just like happy to see you guys, man. Just to,
definitely,
just see fellas that used to chop it up. I got that footage, Mendez, man, of us walking through the Kosovo bars, man. You know what I'm saying?
Need it on Digi so I can put it on Amazon. It's gonna go to Amazon. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We got to come up with a name for the show. You know what I'm saying? We gotta come up with a name and get some more diversity in here. I like the challenging questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the challenging questions, and I like the diversity. You don't want everybody to have the same views, you know. So I like everybody being, you know. I think we all did a good job. Don't edit nothing either. Bush, go ahead and throw it up tonight, man. You gonna throw it up tonight or what?
It's going up tonight. All
right.
3 hours of it. We gonna put it up.
Go ahead and put it up.
Everything.
Amen.
Everything. You
Yes,
got
sir.
Let's put it up, man. Let's get it up there. That way we can let everybody know what's coming.
It's gonna be all over.
So we're gonna do that. Well, I think me and Miss have a conference call. You know what? We can do this too, right? Have our notes.
You ready to be famous?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey,
Let's go have fun, man.
talk about Kill Whitey.
Hey, I'm the only whitey here.
Yeah, man.
Bill is concerned, right?
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out on the limb, man, because depending on where you are, it might be 4 white guys here. Because you know what happens is when you get money, I hate to say it, when you're a brother and you get money and you think a certain way, they automatically outcast you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen that.
Hey,
So
that Mark is a bit aggressive, right?
I'm just keeping it. I mean, like I'm gonna just keep it 100, right? When you starting to get money, when you don't have the same problems anymore, when you leave the hood, when you start buying buildings, you start having different cars and stuff. Your hardships change. They evolve to different hardships, but because people can't identify with that, you become a coon or something like that. You know, you become something different. So I get called that all the time. You know, I get people that tell me that I sound white, you know, when I talk.
That's sad.
It's very, you know what I'm saying? I'm just an educated black man. I have 10 years in the military. I was in Iraq and Kosovo and served with some of the greatest guys on earth. The greatest guys on earth, honestly. All of you guys, man, like, tell me what ball we got to be in, man. We
Try to shout them out, Mark. Try to name some of those guys, those great guys. You know, we talk about Saul Jackson.
Whole list, bro. You know what? Every experience that I had in that unit, because we were kids, right? But every experience, it made me who I am. Mendez, when he came to the unit in Kosovo and we used to kick it and stuff, he was like the dude that I listened to, like, you know, because he was a minority, and, you know, me and him, I could identify with him. You know, at that time, I was the only black guy in that room when we was, right? You know what I'm saying? And then you had Mendez. You know, and so the thing is that there's a lot of things that, you know, there was cool white guys, but there was conversations that I had with Sergeant Bolden that I couldn't have with anybody else, right? And there was certain conversations I could have with Mendez I couldn't have with it, you know, because the reality is that you always a fly in a bowl of milk. Right. You know, especially in a line unit like that.
You know who promoted me to E5, right? And y'all remember the struggles I had. I don't know if you remember, but Sergeant First Class Michelson, a guy from I want to say Arkansas, right, with the mohawk, and you know
would you say Tennessee?
He might have been. Hey, listen, I had to earn that, but he promoted me. I couldn't believe it. And so
I'm gonna tell you this. Son Poole, literally, my hat's off to him. You know, he took care of the brothers, and he never did nothing wrong. You had to earn it.
Right.
But the thing is, I'm gonna be honest with you. It almost felt like, you know, if he wasn't in that position,
right.
I probably wouldn't have gotten the same opportunities as fast. You know what I'm saying? Because he believed in the brothers. and he believed that, you know what I mean? There was people in the unit, no names, that I feel like they didn't, you know, they're not going to come out with it.
Listen, I almost got chapter for failure to adapt because I'm from New York, and you know I wasn't really having it, right? And I had a big mouth, but you know what? You got to learn. You got to learn the game. You got to learn the system, you know. And I learned the system, and I thank my wife, and
I seen it happen even in 136. But again, I love that unit. I would never trade. Those guys, those are my guys. But I saw privates that came into the unit, white privates, that literally they were treated. It was like terrible. They were treated like they had been there for 3 or 4 years. And then you see black guys that came into the unit that were privates, okay, that was treated very harshly.
Well, you know, Mark, you keep it all the way 100 right now. You keep it all the way 100. The fact is that certain people were looked after, so certain people were groomed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you know, Vatos Locos forever. You know, the Spanish people, they stuck together, right? You know, the black people, we had to like almost fight each other though, because oftentimes, you know, there wasn't anybody that really was in place to guide, right? You know, and it becomes a competition thing almost, right?
Listen, there was times, there was a one black NCO that left many years prior, like early in my tenure in Bravo Company.
Remember Copeland? You're not talking about Copeland, are you? Sergeant Copeland?
Nah, I ain't gonna say his name on camera, but he was one of those guys that I felt like he was a puppet. Like he got in, you know, and he was an E6, and he wasn't no pool or no jack, you know what I mean? But he was like the guy that, he was the hammer for the white guys.
Skinny?
Nah, he was tall, real dark skinned, but he just seemed like he didn't like, you know, like. I'm trying to think how to say it. Like, you know, like, he was the type of guy that if I had been in his position and I seen a brother in trouble, I would have pulled him to the side and say, hey, listen here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, obviously you got to put in the legwork, but I would have tried to give some guidance to that brother, right? But there was guys that didn't do that. They, you know, these black kids are coming from the inner city, and you know what? Some of them, like the military, was their only way out of a nasty situation. Right. But they still needed to grow. Just like when I got McKnight and Vetrano and Ingram and all of those guys came to me, you know, and Bowman and who else? It was Wilson and there was all those different guys, but they were like my sons. You know what I'm saying? Like they was like, you know, each one of them had a certain personality. I used to call Griffith PJ because he was so squared away. He was like really squared. And then you had Zidane, who was just like quiet, never spoke to nobody. He just kind of was there, you know. And but each of them had their own personality, and I used to try to talk to these guys and try to help, you know, fill in the gaps so that those guys had an opportunity, you know. So then we sent Vetrano and I think it was Ingram to sniper school, you know, and I worked with certain soldiers on their strengths to build them. But I didn't see that really happening with some of the black guys. You know, during that time, you had Latham in there, you had Stevenson.
We didn't have a whole lot of people that, you know, were successful. Again, the reason why I want to have Jack on so bad is because I know that he knew his stuff, and he's been around long. And I remember you, Mark, saying, if you've been doing this for so long, this is not rocket science, right? You know, I remember you saying that distinctively. Come on now. It was at a point where we were all frustrated, I think, with a lot of the shenanigans because we have been in this unit for so long. This is not rocket science. Give the opportunities, right? Send us to the board. So Jack had to deal with a lot of that stuff throughout his career, not just a 136. But
yeah, Jack had a lot of power, man, and he had. I always feel like that, you know, he had opportunities that he could have did, you know, some things a little different with, you know, this is pre-Iraq and stuff like that. But you know what?
Mark, we won't steal his thunder by telling his story. You know, we'll give the man.
Oh no, I can't tell his story.
Right.
I can only tell you from my experience.
Right.
You know, I just feel like some of us got the power that was in the unit and the cliques. There was cliques in the unit. You know what I mean? There was cliques in the unit, and if you weren't in those cliques, man, you know what I'm saying? And that sucked. But again, I still love all those guys, man. You know, because those things.
Nothing but love.
Because we needed to have all that.
Hey, listen.
You know what I mean? We needed to have that.
I don't care where you went again after 136. It was cake.
Man, listen, if we were downtown, even if you were somebody I probably didn't mess with, but
yeah, nothing but respect.
If it was on there talking, man, we was in it.
Mark,
you know, word up.
Bill.
Yes, sir.
Take as much time as you need, brother.
I tell you, listening to everybody here, I tell you, Christ solved the lives problem a long time ago. All lives matter. We're all one race. Christ solved that long time ago. All this stuff here is just distractions of what's really going on. Me and Sean come from the Christian perspective. We've talked a lot about this stuff. The New World Order. George Floyd's family filed a petition to have the New World, or to have the United Nations come in to be our police, to police us here, while they're defunding our police departments. The push for the New World Order is real. We're all being distracted by something that doesn't really seriously matter in the bigger picture.
Population control.
Absolutely. Hey, see,
I'm gonna tell you right now, there's too many humans on the planet. There's too many of us. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's no reason for nobody to be having 30 kids anymore. It's too many people. You can't feed or job that many people. You always gonna have a massive amount of people that ain't eating, and a massive amount of, you know what I'm saying? Like it's terrible. But that's another topic. We really need to talk about that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody ain't gonna eat.
Well, let me ask you, are you saying you're in support of population control? Am I hearing that?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not that I'm in support of it. I'm just saying that you have way too many people. Look at the United States and the population that we had in 1800, and look at the population now. And you have poverty, and then you have policies that keep policy in place, and you have that many people on top of each other.
But you know what? Let me offer this, right? Bill, forgive us for jacking this down. We're going to pass it right back to you. When you look at the resources that are available, look, the government and the globalists, they want to control the manufacturing of these natural I guess foods. They want to genetically modify and own the food. If we just planted, and organically took care of those that did not have, we got more than enough land, more than enough resources. It's greed.
But you know what? It's gonna buzz. Anything is gonna buzz. If I take 2 ants and put them inside of a sand pit, like an aquarium, and I come back 5 years from now, literally it's gonna be genocide. It's gonna, I just honestly, I've gotten to a point, especially from just in real estate, dealing with the weirdos of society. I've lost so much faith in humankind. When I see what people can do to each other, how does a person move into an apartment, something that I served in combat and people tried to kill me, and I put my money aside and I worked hard. I've been working since I was 13 years old, and somebody moves into that and they don't even care. You know what I mean? They just destroy it. They don't even care. And this policy, I had the police tell me today that the lady that left the apartment open, and her family, and they abandoned the apartment, that if I changed the locks on the door, even though I filed the police report or whatever, and she came back and decided that she was going to kick down the door, to get into her belongings, that she would not be charged with destruction of property. Yet, they abandoned my apartment and the door was wide open with people who were able to walk in it for over 24 hours.
Got you. Mark, again, appreciate your insights, brother. Yeah, I respect you tremendously. I always have. Same with Mendez and Billy, Go ahead, Bill. What you got?
I agree. The things that we're talking about here, it's a human problem. People just want to, it's like Mark was talking about, lumping you all into one category, just a black perspective. If you get a little bit of stuff, then Bill, you're no longer hood.
What did you mean by you all?
Well, people. I mean, like me. Okay, for example, if I have a little bit of something, I've got some family members who think I'm like what Mark was talking about, that I've got a big head. He posts motivational stuff because certain people don't have what he's got. he's certainly a sellout. I mean, that's a human problem. I've experienced that. I mean, and I'll tell you something. He's right. Human nature is survival of the fittest. You know, and to ants, for example, you know, it is going to happen. Christ tells us that it is not the natural man's nature to do these things. Without the Holy Spirit, we can't live together in peace. We can't. It's not human nature to do it. And you can look throughout human history, go back to the ancient Greeks, go back to the ancient Egyptians. They owned slaves. There's been slavery throughout the history of the world. Every race has been it. So it's a human issue. And until we have Christ back in our world, it's going to continue to divide it. The divide is going to continue.
Mendez, man, yo, you look so tired, man.
No, I'm on the phone. That's why I'm texting. The eyes for you, brother.
Yo, like he was asleep, man. I was like, yo, this guy is asleep, man.
Again, y'all are real troopers. The LT would like everybody to send him a friend request. I'll send you his information. Okay.
Yeah, just, you know, well, you're going to throw the video up and put the link in it to everybody's profile so that we can just share it.
Yes, sir.
You know,
yes, sir.
Tag us all in it, and that way we get everybody, you know.
Definitely, we'll do.
It's beautiful. I can't believe it, man. I can't wait to see some water cats. You know what I'm saying?
Come on. I like to read a verse before we get off, if that's okay. Not a verse, but a psalm. You know, again, the whole intent for me, what we're talking about is to draw attention, generate enough interest so that people get curious about the Christian faith, about Jesus Christ and what that's all about, right? One of my favorite verses, right? Favorite Psalms is Psalm 121. I got the first four verses on my arm. I'm thinking about getting it tatted again, right? But it goes, right? Psalm 121, I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth, right? He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. That is our prayer. The Lord has declared it. He said he'll do those things. And, you know, the world is crazy, but we have faith, right? And as small as a grain of a mustard seed, some of us put that faith on full display. Others have a more quiet faith, right? But it doesn't take faith the size of a mountain to overcome a mountain in terms of a hurdle. Faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed, which is the smallest seed, right, that exists. However, when it's in full bloom, when it's grown, it's one of the biggest trees, right? So, you know, all glory to God for the conversations tonight. Harlem in the house, right? Puerto Rico, and Tennessee, right?
Tennessee, yes, sir.
There's a song about Tennessee, right? Tennessee, right? Tennessee, right? What's the group? Help me out. What's that group, Mark?
Which one?
The song, take me to another place, take me to another land. You know, the neo soul. I forget. We'll get it.
I don't know. Yeah. I know Brother Blues though, man. Yo, Brother Blues is the best. Yeah. I still got the set, man.
Hey, and Bill has put me on to some interest in hip hop from the poor white trash perspective, right?
Yeah, Tom McDonald.
Yeah. Hey, what's the name of that artist?
Tom McDonald.
Tom
He's
McDonald.
Canadian.
Has anybody ever heard of Tom McDonald? Check him out. It's interesting stuff.
Pretty good stuff. Hey, he's Canadian, but he's the most American that you'll find. He's more American than most American artists.
Yeah, but it's basically him telling the story again, you know, from the hoods and the slums, but from the white man's perspective, right? You know.
Right.
You know, so he going pretty hard. The young man.
We're all in the struggle together.
Right. Well, amen. Gentlemen, God bless each and every one of you and your families. We're gonna get back on probably next week, right?
Let's do it.
Hit it up.
Next
And
Friday.
every time I'll be on the right time zone.
Yeah, we can. and there'll be some information that was disseminated. Great conversation, great dialogue. The guys, glory. And
Hey, glad to meet y'all.
Okay, real soon.
Same here, Bill. And nice meeting you, brother.
And God bless y'all.
Yeah. Like I said, just put all the links to the Facebooks up there on Bush so that we can get everybody,
Definitely.
you know, in tune and stuff like that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this was great. Yeah. How do you take a picture? Like, isn't there a way that you can get like a screenshot or something?
Yeah.
Because I was gonna
I'm
like.
not sure.
Hey, no, there's, check it out. There's a little tool at the bottom. Are we all on computers right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snippet.
Yeah, I'm on the computer. Yeah.
Microsoft has a snippet tool. I'm gonna take a picture right now. Hold on. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna use it. And it's a snippet tool that you click on, right? And hold on.
I just figured out on my.
Yeah, because I was gonna take a picture and then throw like you know, throw it up there. You know, podcast coming.
I got the picture right here. Hey, we look.
Yeah,
Right.
find the tool.
Now that's a good picture. That's it. Well, hold on. Let's get ready. Let's everybody put a smile on their face and so. Photogenic. There you go. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. 1 second.
Come on, now,
I'm not ready. I was the one.
Where you find that tool at?
It's called a snippet tool, right? It comes bundled with Microsoft. Type in snippet.
You got their color.
Hey, everybody smile. Everybody, hey, look how you gonna look for the photo. All right, that's a good one, gentlemen. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, because I figured there'd have been something right here on the actual Zoom where you can just
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
myself.
I'm sure there is.
I figured there'd been something here where you can just take a screenshot, like a.
I'm gonna do it. Hold on, I'm gonna do a quick search to Google, real quick.
Yeah, because you know me, man. I was gonna throw a little post up, video coming soon.
What
you know,
computer do you have?
I'm with you.
I got a old Asus.
Oh, hey, there's a button right above the chat box, I think.
Print screen.
There's a screenshot right above the chat box. They said, right? I guess if this is the same version.
Now on my keyboard, I've got a print screen button where it'll print.
Do it like that too, right? Now,
Yeah, because I figured it probably would have been like where the video is at, maybe in video settings or something, and you know, take picture, because you see how you got the recording button up there, and then I would figure that maybe there was something else there, meeting information. You got speaker view.
Hey, Mark, I just sent you the one that I took. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
Okay.
There's something that says more here, right?
For the Apple, you gotta hit Shift Command 3, and it does a screenshot. If you got an Apple.
Does it?
Yeah.
On your computer?
Yeah.
So you said Shift.
Shift Command 3 on mine for Apple. I don't know what it is for your.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm on a Zeus.
But
Yeah,
you have a print stream around the F buttons, so you should be able to hit the function key, FN. It should be on the bottom left, something called FM, real little on the top left of the keyboard. And then you look for the function.
FN. I thought I just saw that a second ago too.
You hit that with print screen, which should be on by your F, between F9 to F12 area. It should be on one of those keyboards. You have a little box that will say PRNT, something like that.
That's what I've got.
Mm-hmm.
Did we figure it out, gentlemen?
Yeah, I gotta figure that out. You send me a picture, Mendez. Let me see what the picture look like. Okay, let me run over here and see the picture. Now I want to let's get. Oh, okay. You put the picture with
It's a funny one.
Oh yeah. That look crazy. Yeah. yeah. Let's get another one. Get another one. Without me looking like I look like some twisted, you know. yeah. And then I'm gonna put a little post up or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Take another quick.
So let me know when you're ready. Shift, man. Okay. 1, 2. No, but Colin, do it again. You look kind of weird in that picture because I got you. Need to smile, Colin. Yeah. Okay, now I got Bush on the main screen. So 1, 2. There you go. So let me go back here. Dun. Photo.
All right, gentlemen. I'm pleased. You know, for the initial run, right? We did okay.
It was good. It was fun.
All right. Not a bad way to spend a Friday evening, right?
No, sir.
Not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Throw those pictures. I'll put a little something up. Bush, you gonna get that up tonight or what?
Without question. Without questions. If I can figure it out, it's a 3-hour video, right? 4-hour video almost. We're gonna figure it out though. We might have to slice it, you know. But I think you can put up. What's the
Put the whole thing up.
Bill? What's the length of video that I guess footage that you can put up on Facebook? So anybody know?
I don't even know.
Okay, there might not be. I see 2-hour videos a lot, so
you'll be good.
Yeah. All right, Jim. Hey, get some sleep.
Yeah.
Hey, enjoy the weekend. Be safe.
God bless you.
Hey,
we might as well go live next time.
Hey, 1 second. We'd be remiss if we didn't shout out our good friend, right? Madrique Bolden and his wife, Daniel Bolden, and the Bolden family offer our condolences on the loss of their son, Jordan Bolden. You know, I've known Jordan since he was a little kid. Just a tragic situation. God takes, oftentimes people, because he's trying to save them from the bad things that are going to occur on this earth, right? That's actually scripture, you know, so there's a reason that things happen. And again, you know, that has kind of really motivated me, to be honest with you, gentlemen, to realize that we're not promised tomorrow, that take advantage of today. That's why, Mendez, when you called me, you said, Bush, hey, Papa, you know, when are we going to go ahead and make this happen, right?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a minute.
Hey, all of us have been talking about it for a minute, right?
Yeah.
And today,
but you know what? We gotta definitely get on the horn, and or we could do it just like this, like off video, like, you know, offline. Have a quick Zoom, 15 minutes on Thursday. We, you know, hop in.
Man, we don't do nothing that last 15 minutes.
Yeah. But you know, we write down. We get, you know, get.
Some of us do something that last 15 minutes.
But you know, and that way we can have a format of like, you know, what we want to, you know, we don't have to hit everything because sometimes the conversation, but I think we need to go live next time.
All right, brother. I hear you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think we good. I mean, as you can see, like, there's nothing to be, you know, afraid of. Like, I think, you know, we can have constructive conversation.
Ain't nobody gonna put their hands on Bush. I'm gonna tell you that. That's right. Hey.
I seen your boxing match.
Let's go. Hey, I know I'm 43. I still got the left.
Boxing match, man.
we got the angels. We got the Lord's angels with the camera all around, right?
Amen.
Nothing.
Anybody hungry? Because I know I'm going to get something to eat after this.
Oh yeah, me too.
You probably saw me eating.
I've been thinking. I was the last. We get in that fridge.
Hey, Spartans.
Hey, take care.
Spartans word. Hashtag Spartans.
Hey, Bailey, nice seeing you. Definitely looking for more good insights on it. Definitely hit me up on Facebook.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. I'll hit all of you up. I already got Sean there, so.
Perfect. Have a blessed one.
God bless y'all. We'll see you.
All right now, brothers.
Great job, gentlemen. Proud of you.
Man.
Peace out.
Be careful. Be safe.
Hey, I'm gonna see you. Let's connect on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.